Ka-chow. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Feline Devstream with your host. Do you remember my name? Who remembers my name? Is my name Raymond or is it Project Feline? See, I'm testing you guys. You didn't think I asked you a question, did you? You didn't think I'd do that, but I did. See, I remember you guys are there. I'm not crazy. That's right, the correct answer is, it is me, Project Feline, working on Project Raymond once again. So, there's been some developments, but before we get into it, I want to show you kind of how the model's looking compared to some of the sketches I've done of Gabi, some of the, I've been going a bit back and forth between doing some new reference and changing up the head a little bit, and also trying to continue with the UV mapping, but I've reached a bit of an impasse with the UV mapping, and I'll show you that in just a minute. I'm just trying to find this document, but I had this weird thing with my Photoshop install, and now all of my recent files are gone. So I'm trying to locate it in the File Explorer, because I want to show you some of the stuff I had to do with the hair, because I've had to change it up a little. I just got to look for it. But it's in there. It's in there. What folder would that? It would be in the source folder, wouldn't it? Okay, here it is. So, actually no, I've got them in the document actually. So I can just show you those in there. But yeah, so let's look at the model. This is how it's looking at the moment. I've got the old model here, new model here. So I've done a bit of changing up with the head, because I was looking at the hair specifically, and the head, but I was looking at the haircut a lot from last week, and I don't think I've got a picture of it from oh, I might do actually. I might have a previous version of it somewhere. I don't know. I think that was like the previous version. And there was just something a bit off about the volume. Now, I'm not trying to make it look one-to-one with the old model, because the old model is not quite right either. What I'm trying to go for is more like what you see in the drawing here. I don't know if I can zoom that in a bit more for you. Oh, I can only zoom in so much. But the sort of hair, because I've changed up the hair a little bit over these drawings, but I'm kind of going for sort of the one where she's running forward and the crate one, like that kind of haircut. Because I've given her a bunch of different haircuts, slightly different haircuts over the years. And doing all of this modeling has made me be very decisive about what the hair should actually look like. So I think I talked a little bit last week about some of the difficulties with layering it, and then I've like made some more changes this week. Which, by the way, if you want to get your own Gabi reference, check it out, link down below, Gabi sticker sheet. But this is some of the stuff I've been drawing up, because I've had to. I didn't do reference images at the beginning for a deliberate reason, because Arc System Works don't do reference sheets in the typical way either. They actually don't start with a T-pose drawing or anything like that. They do it a bit different. So I was following their pipeline. And I think I've got the references imported. So the reason why I did references afterwards was because the original drawings reference, I realized, was not like practical. Like the hair I would draw on her most of the time over the years was actually like didn't make sense in 3D. You know like Goku's hair in Dragon Ball, and it looks the same from all of the different angles, and that makes no sense at all. It's kind of like that, but not as extreme, but similar in terms of the shape and volume. Because what would happen was, if I were to draw her from the side or the back, the amount of volume on the back of the head would like change depending on the angle. And I noticed that, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to like really think about this haircut, and I really need to like decide how this is going to work. So I modeled it first, which is the result we had last week, which was this. So I modeled it first, and then once I had it modeled, I was like, okay, this looks a little off still. What can I do about that? And then I went and made some alterations. So now there's a bit more volume to it now. The shape's a little less triangular, and I've like loosened up some of the strands at the bottom A little hard to see with the light, but if I bring the light around this way, especially on the back, these used to curl in a lot more, but I've sort of relaxed them a bit now so that the strands tapered more, so they aren't as much of like a bob cut. Like I've tapered them and layered them a little, and I've had them not curve as much. And I look at it from like the side and the back, and I put it in engine, and I'm like, all right, this looks a bit better. So I was wanting to do a bit more, but like, yeah, you just gotta be careful, because it's like I don't want to go overboard. If I do anything else to it, it might be adding one extra strand on the back, but that's as far as I would probably take it, because I still have to rig and do all that, which is not going to be fun. So I'm trying to make it as much as possible where I'm thinking about the bones, because I'm going to have to rig the hair. And what I'm thinking about is having 2 bones on the side for each of these for these strands on the side. I'll rotate that. So like having, you know, cement like 1 bone on the for the side strands, 1 bone for the front fringe, and have all of those strands controlled by 1 bone. And then maybe 1 bone on the back to adjust like the back like this area, so that when she's running, for instance, I can animate so that the back will like curve outwards and lift to look like wind's going through it. But if I know that if I go too far, then that's going to be like so much work, and I want to make animation not hell. Like for example, with her old hair, this had a lot of bones in it, and a lot of them were completely unnecessary. So I want to avoid doing that this time. But just to show you an example, there's... Oh, yeah. I hate looking at this. I hate it. But yeah, so there's one at the back here, which I'll probably also... I'll do one at the back, but then she's got these ones at the sides too. And then she's got ones a little further on the side. Oh, there's another one in here still that I can't... See, even selecting them is a pain, and it's like, who wants that, right? Like, that's... Yeah, then there's this one. So I can be really wild with it, but weight painting all of that was just complete hell and like pointless, because I did not need this much control over the hair. I did not need it. So I'm being a lot more conservative this time around with that. So how is that gone with texturing? Well, luckily, oh, I have a Guilty Gear model open, but I'll show you that in a bit, because that's I want to show you something there. Because I've been still trying to get the UV. I think I'm pretty happy with how the UVs are for the hair at the moment, and I've been trying to UV map the rest of the body, but I've come into some problems. And I'll show you those in just a minute. But with the UV map for the hair, I haven't merged all of the meshes together yet, but I've done like the 2 big parts. I've done the UVs for, and that's how they're looking at the moment. So I'm not worried about packing them into a small part of the texture just yet. I'm just worried about the island shape, like, you know, how these are all shaped. So these are all pretty flat and straight, and I'm just trying to think where I'm going to put lines. So for those that weren't here last week, the Guilty Gear style UV mapping is very unconventional, very obscure. There is not a lot of resources on it online. So I've been studying some of their models, and this is where this comes in. And I don't think I will ever understand it fully, because I've been looking at the UV map for this model, and some of it I understand. Like, if we move here, for instance, this is how they've like projected part of this character's costume. They seem to like deliberately, you know, they'll put in like these seams where they want lines, I guess, because I think there is another texture map that has line work on it somewhere. I don't know if I've got that imported in here, but I'd imagine that's where the line work would go, because that's stored in a separate texture. But then you get stuff like this, and I don't think I'll ever understand what's going on. Like I'm kind of given up on trying to understand what this is, because it's beyond me. It's beyond me, man. I don't know what's going on, but it works. It does something. So it's like, all right, I trust them, but I also do not understand for what possible purpose you would do it this way. So I'm trying to kind of put in my own sensibilities here and like follow their guidelines. But some of this, I don't know, like, I don't think any amount of research is going to help me out with solving this. So it's been a little challenging, to say the least, on trying to decipher who makes these models, like how they think. Because some of it, I don't know. I think I'd have to like somehow find the guy's contact and somehow hope he's in the mood to explain it and ask him, because I don't know. I just don't know. Some of this makes sense though. Like, I understand some of this stuff down here, right? But it's a lot. Like, I've been looking at a bunch of different models as well to see how they approach different things. Some things I have learned that are kind of fascinating, because someone asked me last week, would you not be able to do texture detail? And I said no, but that's actually not true. You actually can. I didn't know that you could. But this, just ignore the rest of the mess. Just focus on this middle bit. So this is the knee for this character. And the materials are a bit glitched out, so just ignore the purple material. But these are her kneecaps right here. And you'll notice that they actually do put a bit of red softened shading on the kneecap. So I guess to answer that question from last week, it is indeed possible to have textured detail. It's just you just gotta like be careful about it, because what you've also seen here is that they have these gaps, and I imagine, because I don't have the line, I couldn't find the line work texture for this model, but I'd imagine these gaps are where you would put in lines. So this model does not have the lines on it, so I'm just guessing of where they would go. So I'm looking at wherever there are gaps in the UV map. But yeah, it's been a bit of a challenging thing to study, because it's just, I feel like you kind of have to work there to get it. So I've been trying to do my best. So I've been, I'll close the old model, we don't need that. So I've been doing the best with the hair, because the hair typically might be the easiest to do, which I wasn't expecting. I think they've got bits of the hair on this UV map somewhere. I'm just trying to remember where it was. Because yeah, I think this is the eyelash there. Oh no, there's part of the hair. So it's very, like, the hair is basically, like, I feel like you can get away with doing it in just strips. So I think this is all hair as well. So they just do it in like these, yeah, like down here. Except they put in these gaps, which I imagine are for line work. So that's something I'll just have to like pay attention to. So I've tried to do my best here. It's not the most neatly laid out. I haven't quite figured out how I want to lay it out yet, because I guess with these characters, their hair is a lot less segmented. Because I've gone and done this thing where I've segmented every sort of strip of polygons, which I'm not sure is a great idea now that I'm looking at it. It does make sense for the bottom half. So I've got the seams going all the way up to where the hair parts. And what that'll let me do, hopefully, is that I can go into the middle, like where the red lines are, I can go in and add line work to them. Like I can add straight lines to them. That's the idea. Although I'm not sure if I needed to do that the whole way up. I'm starting to think that might not have been a good idea now, but oh well. So yeah, most of like the last week, because I've had some other stuff to work on as well. So I wanted to take a bit of a break from the character, because I just was not making like fast progress and I was hating it. So I went and worked on some video stuff and did some admin work and coming back to this now. But as I was working on the rest, because I reckon the hair is probably like, that's probably as good as I will be able to get it with my current knowledge. I guess the rest, if there are going to be changes to the UV map, that'll really depend on the texturing. So what I imagine is going to happen with the hair, at least, is that I'm going to have to get to like the part where I'm making the texture, putting the lines in, and then I'll probably be adjusting all of these once I've actually got the lines in there. So this is probably the best I can do going in blind. I'm not sure, like, I was wondering if there was some kind of way to, like, in advance put the lines in, but I don't think so, because a lot of it relies on the size of the islands. So for the last character I did this on, I think I did do it this way first, and then added the lines, and then went back and adjusted the UVs afterwards. So that's probably what we're going to have to do. But to get to that, we also have to do the rest of the character. And that's where I've been having some problems, because I've... this is where it gets kind of interesting, because I've been trying to do the rest of the character, and keep in mind, so a lot of the topology of this character is based on the topology I've seen from Arc System Works. Arc System Works do not do it the normal way. They have their own set of rules. I've read all of the documentation and talks about the rules. I've tried to learn and pick up as much as I can, but there are some challenges I'm now finding that I didn't really think about going in. One of these challenges, as you could probably see here, is that the edge flow. Now, edge flow is kind of tricky, especially in this case, because with a lot of the topology I've seen in these models, they do a lot of topology that you wouldn't typically do to achieve certain things with the shading and the texturing. So for example, like with this shoulder, I normally wouldn't do it where I put it in a try like this, going in here, but what I want to do later is have a line there. So because if I want a line there due to the texturing workflow, the topology has to be in a way that allows for you to draw lines across the edges of the model. You can't just put lines any old where and have that work unless you want that line to look pixelated when you compress the texture. So in this case, you know, you would make a seam here, for instance. Mark seam. Like you'd mark a seam there, and then in the UV editor, you know, you'd spread these out a little and add the line. So that's why a lot of this topology is done the way it is. Like I've already got seams marked out for the kneecaps, so that because I want to add lines going across here, so I've marked out seams for those too. But where things get a bit challenging is trying to separate out different parts of the body into different UV islands, because my typical workflow, and I've been looking at sort of this model, for instance, and I've noticed that, you know, the leg, this whole bit down here is like the leg, and that's on its separate island. And that's how, you know, I do it that way as well. Like, I always try and just separate out as many bits as possible just to make it easier. I don't know where they put the arm in this one, though. That I haven't found that where the arm is on this texture yet, and I don't think I will, because there's just too much going on. But I'm sure it's in there somewhere. Oh, no, the arm is, it's got like it's got a sleeve on it, so yeah, I don't know where that would be on this character. But, typically, I found in my experience, it's smart to try and separate everything out. Kind of like with this shirt, for instance, which you can get on Patreon, by the way. But with this shirt, I've got seams on the shirt. You know, there's a seam around the sleeve. There's one here at the top. There's two seams going down the side. And when you can do that, because that's essentially, you need to mark those seams out so that you can flatten it out on a texture. That's the idea of UV mapping. The thing is, I'm having some trouble marking the seams in places that are sensible because of the topology. So I've tried, this is my attempt so far with the body. The leg is actually not terrible. This is how the leg's looking. It looks pretty close resemblance to this character's leg. It's just I don't have the shape of the UV island. I've noticed that it seems like no matter what, the UV island shape is always square, but everything inside it is kind of whatever. So that's something I'm trying to kind of keep in mind. So for this leg, for instance, just to test it out of the things I'm trying to pick up on here. If I go to, I don't know, where's the button? So I could do like make it to UV squares, right? Except that's not really going to work here because I've got triangles in it. So what I would probably do instead is just take the, oh, I'm just trying to do this really quickly. This is not going to be the final version of it. I'm just trying to kind of demonstrate what I think they do to their UV maps. What I think they do is, I think they kind of straighten out the edges. Like they take each one. Okay, I can select them all. That's great. I reckon they do it something like this. This is my game theory. And then, you know, UV, minimize stretch. I reckon that's what they do. So if we look at my leg now, and then look at this character's leg, you can see it's close. Like, the shape is pretty close. So I reckon that's how we're gonna do stuff, because that's pretty good. I might just leave that as it is, actually, because that's probably fine. I didn't think it would actually... I thought something would go wrong, but that actually doesn't look so bad, so we might leave that. It pinches a little bit at the bottom. How do they handle the bottom? Oh, okay, they just... Huh. Alright, so maybe we'll spread this out a little bit. Oh no, I didn't want to pin it. Oh. Oh no. Mine stretches a little, so maybe we'll try that, and we'll try the minimize stretch again. Because I've noticed... Yeah, see, there we go. That's much better. So that's because I remember a few weeks ago, for those that were here, I was talking about my skepticism of plugins, because I do have a plugin installed that automatically turns any island into squares. So if I click on this island, I don't know what, I think this might be the foot, and if I click UV into square, it'll turn it into perfect squares, but Arc System Works UV maps are not perfect squares. And I remember I had this thing where my brain was stuck on this, and I was trying to say that using the plugin was going to be a bad idea, but I couldn't articulate why. But I just knew that if it was the right answer, they would have done it, but they didn't. So I was trying to think, why didn't they? Why didn't they do something like that? Because to me, when I look at this, all of this looks deliberate. It all looks like it was done manually. And I was trying to work through my head, why do they do it manually and not shortcut it? Because there's always that temptation to just shortcut it and go, oh, well, it's approximately the same and whatever. But every time I've done that, it has never worked. It has always backfired. And it's always ended up costing more time than the shortcut. So that's why when I noticed little bits, like you probably would have noticed on that stream, I couldn't even explain why it was bad. Like I couldn't explain it, but I knew in principle, my intuition was telling me that this was going to be bad doing it this way. And I was right, because I think now I figured out how they do it. And I realized that this, I mean, it'll work, but like there's disadvantages. So one of the reasons, getting to the leg example, one of the reasons this way, it's a bit more work than just clicking a button, like just doing that, obviously, right? But the reason this works is it kind of addresses that problem that someone brought up last week, where it's like being able to add texture, like actual image texture to parts of the model, and also making it so that there is UV stretch. Because I think they said something along the lines of, oh, thanks so much, by the way, Terranation. Thanks so much for the donation, man. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Actually, that's a huge help, because my last video, man, this is so embarrassing to say, but the last devlog I made, I think it made like 20 bucks in ad revenue. It was something ridiculous. So thanks so much. I appreciate it. But yeah, thanks so much. Finally, I made 20 bucks doing character art. Yes, it is a real job, Mom. Take that. Thanks so much. Anyway, sorry. What was I saying? I was saying, what was I saying? Sorry. I got distracted. Thanks so much, though. Appreciate it. Mick Rooney will do a lot for 20 bucks. Well, yeah, I guess I do as well. It took me, how many months have I been working on this now? I started this model like a month or two ago, so it took me 2 months to make 20 bucks. Pretty cool. Pretty good. So what was I saying? I was saying with the UVs, because I think someone had said that the Arc System Works method uses stretch, like stretching the UVs. It uses it. This is not a great example, because this was some online like MMD version I found. So this isn't an official, like it is official, but it's been like converted into some like different rig. I don't know if I've got another better model somewhere that demonstrates this, but just using your imagination, just imagine that there's line work on it. Because what the point was is that this method, it will use UV stretch to its advantage. So when you add like lines to all this and everything, it's deliberately stretching the UV so that the lines are straight, but at the expense of stretch everywhere else. But what I realized is, the more I paid attention to this, is that it isn't really at the expense of everywhere else. If you're doing it with the plugin, then yes, it will be. But if you're being more thoughtful about it like the actual models are, like this, yes, there's stretch here, but it's not like, it's like negligible. Like stretch on this square is not going to matter because it's literally just a flat color. And remember, we're doing like the brief for me, I guess. My brief is like, take a frame from like the Bakugan anime, and that is my brief. That is like, it has to look like that. So if there's stretch on these bits, I could not care because it doesn't matter. And you'll actually see on this texture that there are bits where it is, in fact, you know, it doesn't all do that. It's not explicitly just straight lines only. So they actually do a bit of decals. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's like, it isn't as much of a compromise, I think, as I thought it was at the beginning. So you actually can have some texture detail and have sharp lines. You just have to kind of understand what's going on. And now that I've been looking at this a bit more, I understand that it isn't just a matter of making all the UVs straight. It's like, they are pretty neat and tidy and straight, but it isn't. It's like a mix between that in certain places and then like just having it kind of projected so that it isn't as stretching, you know? So like the face, this is the face. You'll see that there actually is some texture detail on the lip. They've got a bit of red there and a bit of specular textured in. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but it just goes to show that you can do that with this technique. And it looks like, yeah, and then over here, of course, it's different, because here it's very straight, very stretchy, very stretched, and then down here, it kind of isn't as much. It follows the model quite closely. So that's just, I don't know, I felt like I wanted to kind of talk about some of that, because a lot of I guess the progress from this week isn't really visible. It's more like just me looking at these more and trying to figure out what's going on. And that's kind of what it is like sometimes. Like every time I'm doing programming or modeling or whatever, there's always going to be like those slow weeks where you don't really see much. But it's like, I guess you call it research and development. I guess that's what it would be called. Just, you know, trying to like understand what's happening. So yeah, it's just particularly difficult with this type of model because this is not well documented anywhere. Like this is very, like one studio came up with this. It is not the industry standard by any means. It is not standardized. It's all very, it's very particular. Like I had to go look up like these Japanese slideshows and like auto translate them to like figure out what was going on. So yeah, that's why things can kind of take a while. So anyway, how am I going to solve this on my model? And that's the question I will find out how we'll answer. So I'm gonna, will I keep this open? No, I don't think I'll keep this open. Because so the problem I'm having, back to my model here. So now that I kind of understand how the UV should work, I'm kind of mixing back in some of my old workflow, now that I understand some of what I'm up against. But I'm having issues where not all of the edges make clean cuts. And that's important that they do, because what I would like to be able to do is just cut out the arm and flatten the arm out somewhere on the texture, which I've tried to do. I've tried to do that, but you can see because it isn't quite a clean cut, I've got this big, it's just a complete, like it's a complete mess. It's awful. So it's a bit tricky, because it's like, well, you know, how do you make clean cuts? So that's what I'm going to try and work out. So it's going to be a bit of like remodeling certain bits. I've also got this area, which is a bit of a mess as well. So this, I was, again, following very closely how Arc System Works model their joints, because there's a lot of different things to consider, which is kind of what I'm trying to work out the balance, because there's deforming, and then there's shading, and then there's texturing. And it has to like work with all of those in a particular way. So I remember doing this and like half finishing it, and I knew I would have to come back to this part later. And now I have to. Like, now we've reached that point, because the issue with this as well is this doesn't deform that well, and I knew it doesn't, and it could be an issue of bone placement, and it could be the issue of the topology itself. I noticed that all of their models have this thing where it has this crease modeled in, so I've tried to do a similar thing, but what it's done now is it's created this issue where I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to approach separating this onto a different UV island, because I want the torso, I guess, well, let me think. Do I want this part and the leg to be connected? I don't think so. I think I want that connected to the torso, and then from the hip, what I want, well, the thing is, I'd love to draw a line to show you where I want this to separate, but because the edge loop is the edge flow is not what it could be, you'll see this difficulty. This doesn't quite work so well. Like, you can't make that into a UV island. So the challenge here is going to be, how do we make it consistent with Arc System Works' topology? Because it has to be for shading and for weight painting and all that. But also make the UV islands, like, making clear cuts, clear edges to cut UV islands from. So that's what we're going to have to figure out. And this is going to be kind of it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun, but it has to get done. So Yeah, so I guess we'll get into it. I'll quickly check chat because I know you guys have all been chatting and I've just been here explaining. Hopefully that all makes sense, because most of it still doesn't make sense to me, but I'm working it out. Oh, here we go. We're talking about triangles. We won't get into triangles today. That's going to be a huge discussion. There's just know that I'm not using triangles on accident. That's all you got to know. But yeah, it's a big topic. It's complicated. We're not going to get into that. Why not Twitch? I think I was on Twitch at one point, but I don't know. I mean, more people come to watch these on YouTube, so yeah. Can you manually unstraighten the parts that you don't want to have texture warping? I guess so, yeah. I guess you... Well, it depends. But I would say generally, yeah, like, it only really needs to have that warping where there's lines. So for this part, for instance, I've got a C marked here. I'm gonna have a line there, probably. And it's like, that's gonna probably be kind of warped, but the rest of it, not so much. Although I will say that a lot of the UV islands, because if I was like this, for instance, you look at my leg, and if I auto unwrap that leg, you'll notice that it's like, that's not how theirs look, right? So it isn't that there is like no stretch at all, because there is. That's how theirs would look, right? It would still be in a square shape, but everything inside of the square is not so much. So I'm sure there's a reason for that, and I'm not going to question it because it'll take me too long to figure out if I want to like dive into. But all I know is that they seem to do this thing where they kind of ignore things where it won't matter. So for example, they could go and straighten these to be perfect squares, but they don't. They only focus on maybe the bits that they're gonna have lines. That's what I've noticed. But then they will also make it so that the edges are square shaped. And that could, I don't know, maybe there's like a UV packing reason for that. I don't know. All I know is that that's what they do. So that's what I'm gonna do. So for instance, this, I'm not sure what part, I think this could be the torso. You can see that there's issues with the shoulder because that's where the shoulder is. And you can see this spiral. It's got a Ubisoft spiral going on, and that's not good. So we're gonna have to do something about that. Because once I can separate the shoulder out, then this shouldn't be as stretched. And then I can pack it into a square, and I'll probably just leave that middle bit kind of where it is. I'm not sure if they put a stream down the middle, like a seam down the middle or not. I'm not sure if they do. They might. I haven't done that in my case, but we'll see what they do. And yeah, it looks like they will make it square shaped on the outside, and then where it really needs to be square shaped, like the hair, they will do that. But for everything else, I guess only where the lines will do things. But because it's mostly like flat colors, I don't know. I guess it's like it doesn't really matter too much if it's stretching. But it looks like where there is texture detail, they do make an effort to deliberately avoid stretching there. So I don't know. Again, they don't have a talk on UV mapping. I've just like, I mean, they have UV mapping as part of one of their other talks, but they don't have one specifically on the UV mapping. So I've just been kind of having to just figure it out for myself and like stare at it for like hours at a time and go, okay, well, what are they trying to do? And then I come up with reasons why things might work the way they do, and I go, all right, well, I guess that'll make sense. But yeah, in order to continue though, it would help if I could make clear cuts, and maybe that'll help with rigging too. So I wanna like see if I can improve this. I'm just trying to think about where I should start. I think I might start with the shoulder. That might be the easiest. Because yeah, we've got this issue where it like we got a death spiral going on. Now, weirdly enough, their models have that as well, but I don't know. Something about it is telling me I shouldn't, even though theirs do. Like I've been like studying a lot of their topology, and they have that kind of thing happening all the time. But I don't know, something about it, part of something in my brain is telling me that I should make this connect. So I'm gonna do that. My little inner voice is never wrong, so I'm gonna listen to the voice. Now, another challenge too that I haven't talked about yet is the costume, which we actually might be able to do depending on how things go. Because the other thing we have to consider, and this is like a double whammy here, is that if I can get the shoulder loop to behave, to be like an obvious cut, what I'll be able to do then is I'll be able to like model in her costume more easily. Because at the moment, what we're gonna do, well actually, I'll show you what we're not gonna do first. Because the modeling I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably try and think about the costume as well. So here's what I don't want to do. So this is the old model. What I don't want to do is I don't want to have the costume as a separate... I mean, it will be separate, but not like this. It won't be like a completely separate mesh. We're not going to do that. You might be saying, well, why not? Well, I'll show you why not. So this costume and the body underneath are topologized completely differently. And as a result, weight painting it was actual hell. So if I try and move her arms around on her old model, because the topology is like different, you'll start noticing some problems, very scathing, obvious problems, where it is quite literally impossible to weight paint this in a way where it doesn't clip. And this is kind of where my journey began, noticing stuff like this. Because I've had people tell me before, like when I told people I was going to redo the model, because I noticed, like, this happens it's much worse in engine actually. So this isn't actually the worst of it. In engine, it is so much worse, the amount of clipping that there is, especially around the top half, which is the part that's near the middle of the screen. So that's very important, it doesn't clip. But because the topology is different, no amount of weight painting is going to solve that. Like, that is a fundamental problem. So that's why I'm redoing it all, because people have tried telling me like, oh, well, just like change just weight paint, just do better weight paints. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. Like, that is not gonna fix it, because the edge loops and the edge flow is not at all the same. So what we're gonna do this time is I'm going to model that tank top into the base model, so that the topology of the skin and the top are one. That way, it'll be impossible for it to clip. It just means you got to put in more work, but I would rather do that than try and fix it, because you can't fix this. Like, this is like game over. It's over for you type territory here when you do this. So yeah, so that's why I'm not going to do it as like a separate thing. I mean, I'll probably do it as a separate object, but the topology itself is going to be exactly the same. Like, it has to be, otherwise we're going to have this problem. And I just don't want to have that problem ever again. So what that means for the shoulder is we need an edge where the edge of the singlet is going to be, which I don't have. So I need one. And what I would like it to do, if I could draw, I would like an edge to kind of do this and come like around like that. I need an edge that follows that shape. And let me undo that and just draw this from a different angle, because this is let me try that again. I want to draw it from a side profile, which will be a bit easier that way. So I want an edge. I don't know how far down. Maybe it'll... Oh, if I undo, it doesn't... if I delete the keyframe, it'll delete it. Let me just draw it. I want to draw it the best I can of how I want this. So I want the edge... I've got part of the edge there, but it doesn't fully go. It doesn't fully connect. So I've got bits of it in place, but it isn't coherent. It doesn't... not coherent, that's not the word I'm looking for. It doesn't connect. It's like got parts of it So there's part of the edges I'll keep. So some of the edges are good. So we got 2 challenges. It's gonna be getting the edges to follow this shape and getting the edges so that they can be marked off into clear islands. Because what we want is being able to just slice off the arm without springing or spiraling at the end. Because that's just going to be a nightmare. It's probably going to be a rigging nightmare. I know that the shoulders do, admittedly, deform much better. Even in their current state, they do deform much better than the old shoulders. However, I just have a feeling that if they're spiraling like that, I don't know, I just have a feeling that there's going to be something that goes wrong that I can't predict. But I don't know what it is, but I seem to have built this sense where I can't tell you what the problems will be, but I can tell you if there will be a problem. And I feel like I should listen to that voice. Like, a voice is telling me that if it spirals, there's going to be some issue. There's just going to be a problem. So I want to try and remedy that. While we're doing annotations, we'll try and do one for now, the hips. I honestly don't know at all how this is meant to go, but I'm just trying to draw where I think it should go, which is obviously going to differ quite a bit from how it's been modeled. But I haven't really been that happy with this whole area too, if I'm to be honest. Like, the hips in particular, even with the auto rig, do not deform that well. Like, they're pretty bad. So maybe this will be an opportunity to fix that. I know that some of these edges go the way I want, but not all of them. Like, I don't like this. Maybe I need to put an edge through the middle there. I don't know. That could be it. But I want to be careful to not rely too much on using tries for those edges. Although Guilty Gears models do that a lot. But we'll see. If that's the only resort, then I'll do that. But I want to avoid it if possible. And is there anything else? Oh, yes. So we're gonna need some kind of edge that goes like here. Some edge that does that. We might be able to do that with tries for this part, because that's safe. I reckon using tries there will be safe. Using tries down here, maybe not so much. You just gotta be careful. But I know here it'll probably be okay. And then for the back, I've got a set of edges here already that I was going to follow, but these don't connect very well to the rest, admittedly, so that's going to be an issue. I'll try and draw a line too on how where do I want the singlet to be. I reckon this edge. So this has to somehow come down like that. Maybe we'll curve it. It's going to show it from both sides. I guess maybe not that. Move it up a little bit. Like that. That's what I'm thinking. Except, oh, that comes down a lot more from the side. Ah, okay. Oh, well, I guess from a different... Yeah, no, that'll work. It's just, it'll look a bit weird from the side is all. So it's, I guess, yeah, well, I'll try and draw that again, because I gotta be clear about it. And I guess from the side, it'll come down a bit more. I'm sure I'll figure out something now. It's just because from the front, you can't see the whole side, so it'll kind of become occluded from that angle. All right. So I've got some edges there that I can use, but this is, yeah, it'll be a bit of a challenge. I'll probably I'll get rid of the UV editor, because we're probably not going to touch UVs until I can solve this. But to show you real quick on the topic of the hips, I'll show you some of the issues there. So with the hips, I've kind of ignored them for the most part. I've just been focusing on other bits, but the hips in particular, there's a specific combination of things you have to get right for the hips to work. And you can see that I haven't quite gotten them all there, because you'll notice that the deforming is just off completely. Now, this is all auto weights, so I guess it's to be expected. However, The rest of the model with auto weights is much better. It's like pretty good. Like even the shoulder, even though the shoulder has some problems, the deforming is almost flawless. So what I've come to try and think about as a goal is that I used to really not like auto weights. I used to hate them because they would never work, and I would always have to manually do weights all the time. But I've realized there is a certain combination of things you can do to have it play nice with auto weights. And if you can do that, I don't know, it feels like a thing I should do. It feels like that's a good thing if it plays nice with auto weights, which everywhere except the hips does. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I could go in and manually try and weight paint the hips. Or maybe if it's not playing well with auto weights, maybe it's inviting me. Maybe it's trying to tell me that the hips could be better done. Like the topology could be better so that they do work with the hips. And that's what I believe is the case. But yeah, one of the things we should be able to hopefully fix if we redo the hips is fixing this problem, which I'm sure that there's some kind of topology I could do there that would make this better. There's also bone placement, but that's a whole other topic. We won't get into that because bone placement is actually a huge... Arc System have a talk just on bone, not even on rigging, just on bone placement alone, which I've paid very close attention to. So maybe the placement of the hips, maybe that could be off. Could be. I do know that the knees are a bit too low, but we'll take it a thing at a time. Let's focus on the shoulder because I could go all day explaining everything wrong. Oh, why can't I click? Why is the model not selecting? Uh-oh. Oh, the rig is still selected for some reason. Okay, let's hide the rig. All right, so how am I gonna solve this? How do I pronounce that? Nayuya says, new model's looking phenomenal. Thank you. Appreciate that. Oh yeah, real quick, I'll pin this to chat. If you guys want to check out the sticker sheet, check that out, link down below. It'll help support the development of this model. Is my rig compatible with Mixamo? I don't know. I'm not going to use Mixamo, so I really couldn't care if it was compatible with Mixamo. So I don't know. I guess a lot of I don't know, because it's like automated, so I guess every model in theory would be compatible with Mixamo as long as it's humanoid. But I'm not planning on using Mixamo, so I couldn't tell you. So I'm gonna do some things that look. I'm ideating. I'm just trying to think like, how can I? Because what I'm trying to get here is just a clean edge loop, and I'm just ideating. This actually might work, but I gotta be careful. I'm gonna try something. I'm just gonna try this, and I want to see how it looks, and I need to see it. Okay, no, I don't like how that sits. I mean, that's actually not bad. That actually follows the line perfectly. So I don't know, maybe that's what we'll do. But something about, I don't know, there's something about this. Well, this whole bit, like this, there's something off. And I'm just trying to think like how to, I don't know, there's just something about it that doesn't seem... I mean, I guess it kind of has to work that way, because I do want to preserve this. Like this, you know where this part is, right? Like I want that there. I want to keep that there, because it makes for it casts great shadows there. So I want to keep that. It's just connecting it with the rest is like, you know, how do you do that type thing? So, let me just find, I gotta look at, like, I had some pictures of topology that I was gonna look at. Because, yeah, like, with some of these, I've been looking at some references. This was one of the references I used, and I went for the top option where the shoulder kind of comes and hugs around the arm. But even this, you could still make a clean cut from. So maybe, hold on, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Now that I'm looking at this again. Because a lot of shoulder topology, it has like this kind of thing going on where this isn't how I have done shoulders before. And it has this kind of thing going on. But because here's where it gets tricky. I think I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say. Because with a lot of these, I mean, you could still make a cut from that. Whereas mine, not really. Even though that, like, I'm trying to have a similar, like that red line, I'm trying to have that sort of going. Because the thing, what was I trying to say? So maybe, because we've got this challenge here where it looks like with those shoulders, the cut that you make goes like this, where they cut the shoulder out that way. But because of the singlet that I want to model in, I can't quite do it the same. I have to have it go down rather than across. You know what I mean? And I should have done that on a separate keyframe because I wish there was like a tool where you just click on a line and it gets rid of it. I could have sworn that was a thing. Or maybe that's in the snipping tool for Windows. So let me get rid of those extra lines. But I need to think... Okay, so I want the line there. I just gotta remember where I'd put it. Alright. I'll leave the annotations alone so I don't mess it up more. I might need maybe more space between this and the shoulder. That could be it. Because I think that it's too tight a fit. Maybe I think there needs to be like more room between there for that to work. That's my, I don't know, that's my theory. Maybe, let me think, I just need to think about where, because once I have it kind of thought out on where everything is going to be in relation to each other, it might help me to figure out like where I'm going to put stuff. Maybe, no, I don't want to say that. I was going to say maybe the shoulder starts there, but I don't know, something about that doesn't quite, yeah, because then that, maybe, I don't know, that might work, but that doesn't lead back around, so no, never mind, that wouldn't work. But I like where this line is, it's just, I don't know, I have a feeling that maybe there was meant to be more room between these. Like maybe that, and then maybe, like if I merge those together. And then that kind of connects there, and then maybe, oh, I don't know, maybe that could work. Huh. All right, I need to look at some of these edges, because here's the thing that kind of irritates me, is that, all right, actually no, that connects now. Okay, cool. But it's like, I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe I've solved it, because this used to be worse, now it's connecting. Let me think. Well, because some of these lines, I'm not sure if these ones, I don't know if that should be leading up. I think that should be leading across. But then there is a line that should be going down. Okay, no, maybe I did have it right all along. Let me, oh, I can't go back far enough. Oh well. Merge that back. I don't know if that's exactly how it was, but because I'm trying to think, because there's two lines. I'll try and draw in the other, because there's one missing. There's the line for where the shirt's gonna be, and then there's the line for the UV island. And that is gonna come up a bit further. I want the UV island to start here. I can't quite draw it from the side because the hand's in the way. But I want this to make a loop around, which I think it actually is doing now. It wasn't doing that earlier. So that's actually pretty cool. Okay, will that work? Will that work? Okay, there is one thing I don't like about this. This is connecting better, but I don't like this. I don't like what's going on with that, where I don't know, there's just something about it. There's something about this back bit, because this edge, yeah, okay, this is the edge I'm not liking, because it goes around, and it should connect with that one, but it isn't. So I think, okay, I think I've figured it out. I think I figured out what's going on. Because here's the challenge with the shoulder that I've been trying to figure out how to explain. So this is a little different. Let me show you what I don't want. I'll show you what I don't want. So back to this example. See number 2, where it has like a bunch of these circles? I kind of want that, but I want it to be like the first one at the top. And the reason that is because with weight painting, I've found that the more edge loops you have at the bottom, like underneath of the armpit, the harder it is to rig. So, but I think I figured out where my mistake is now. I figured it out. Because Arc System Works models, they split the edges at the top of the shoulder and make tries and make this smooth. Like, they have more edge loops there. But then they pinch down into less edge loops at the bottom. Whereas I have the edges go all the way around, but not quite. Like, they don't connect, which is like the worst of both. Like, that edge does not resolve. It comes down and then it doesn't resolve. Which doesn't sit right with me. I don't know, I have a bad feeling about it. But I don't know if there's like an example I can try and show. I closed the other model. I don't want to go and dig for it, but they will have like, yeah, you see this? I don't want it to work. I don't want the edge going all the way down. But they do have things where they have less edges on the bottom and more loops on the top, so that when you bend it down, the shoulder is still smooth when you rotate the shoulder down. So when she lowers her arm, it's a bit hard to see right now because she's got it raised, but when she lowers her arm, you want the shoulder to still have, like, the edges should spread out, kind of like the knee. The knee's very similar. The knee's actually it's a much better example of what I'm trying to describe. So with the knee, I completely eliminate the edge loops on the back, and I have them all on the front. And they all pinch here. I don't have that going on the shoulder, and I need to have that on the shoulder, because I don't want all the edge loops at the bottom. I only want edge loops on the underneath if they're gonna modify the shape. Like, I've got some there that deliberately push the armpit inward so it looks like a pit, so that I can add shadows to it. Like, I want that there so that it divots inwards. But I don't want more edges than necessary. I don't want edges that are only going to be affecting the top to be at the bottom. Because when you try and deform it, it's just going to rubber hose and be like a pain. Because imagine all of those vertices crunching into the armpit. It's just going to be a pain. So the less vertices for the armpit, the better. You only want, I think for me at least, I only want enough so that when she's like, you can see it, that it creates the right shadow. And this is plenty. I don't want more vertices than this, but the shoulder might need more, like on the top half, it might need more edge loops. I might need one in the middle here, I'm reckoning. Except it needs to only go at the top. And then the edge here, the red, or maybe this one even, one of these needs to connect all the way around. So I just need to work out how that'll work. Just let me think. I think what I want to do... Okay, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to save first before I mess this up. I think I want to have an edge there. And then I want to take this, because I just don't... I don't like this one. I wanna move this further in. Yeah, so I'm gonna make this edge that old edge instead, and I'm gonna push this edge further in and make this not connect down all the way. I wanna make this just an edge for the top half. So that means removing this, and this might be a mistake. This might not work, but I have to try. This might not work, but it's... Because, yeah, then what they do is they pinch them shut here, and the edges don't go all the way around. That's what I've noticed with their topology. Like, they have this. I didn't have that before, so I wanna get some of that in. So, yeah, it's tricky, because the thing is, like, I'm trying to stick to their topology, but also it's, like, my own model. So I have to work things out on my own sometimes of, like, their models do this, but I'm not making their model, I'm making my model. So it's like, I gotta stick to their rules, but also deviate sometimes, depending on my specific proportion. Like, because, you know, Gabi doesn't have the same proportions as an Arc Systems character. So that creates, like here, yeah, now I had this problem a few weeks ago, and that we've now opened back up, where I don't know how this will work. Well, actually, you know what would be good? If that connected back here, actually, that might solve it. Because that actually would be natural, because that's how the muscle will go. So maybe this isn't bad. Maybe I can fix that. If I have the edge going up that way, maybe. But I also don't want to give my hopes up yet. So I don't know, maybe that'll work. But now I've got a few extra edge loops at the shoulder, which I kind of didn't want. But I guess at least they behave consistently. Like, this edge, I select it and it goes all the way around, which is fantastic. It's just this edge. Do we need that one now? Can that be replaced? Or should... I gotta be careful. I gotta be careful. Because this edge should go lower. This edge is going to be... Well, let me, like, real quick. Let me spread the back out a little bit. Because I know where the tank top, like, the bits there are going to go. So I'm going to I'll hide the hair real quick, because that's getting in the way. Could I actually... If I could make these... If I could, like, change the color... of that would be great, because that's gonna be like the singlet is gonna follow this, except you can see that there's a bit of an issue where it shouldn't taper into, it shouldn't go there. That's not where the edge should go. So I'll delete these edges. This should come out more, because we're also thinking, remember, because it's not just about the texturing, it's also about the costume. Will this work for the costume? Like, because I want to have it modeled in there, because I don't want to have a weight painting problem disaster like last time. So I think this is where we would start using tries to create... I just gotta think how I want that to go. Like, let's imagine for a moment that is, like, that's gonna be where the tank top is. Like, it's gonna cover this area. I think that it needs to come down a bit lower, I think. So that line needs to come down, like, around there. That might be a bit tricky to pull off. So maybe these come down a bit. Actually, that's not terrible, actually. That could work. Hey, yeah, we got a shape. See, we got the shape going. So, and as I was explaining earlier, I don't know if actually I'll use seams to show you. I was going to try and make it a different color, but I don't want to use the material editor. I'll just mark it a seam of where the tank top's going to be. You guys see that? That's what I'm... Yeah, you guys see it? That's, because if it's modeled into the actual thing, then the singlet, it'll be quite literally impossible for the singlet to glitch through the skin. It'll be impossible, because the singlet is the skin. You know, modern solutions require modern problems. No, that's not it. That's not right. Modern problems require modern solutions. That's it. So I'll pay a bit of attention to the back, because that should be spread out a bit. Because I was trying, yeah, so that's why I remember I put those edges there for a reason, and I completely forgot. I was like, why did I put those there? Now I remember, so I could do this. I guess I don't need that edge in that particular spot. Or that one. I can get rid of those. Except... oh, this needs to come out a bit. It's creating this weird fold. That should come out a bit further. Yeah, there we go. Shut up. Modern solutions require modern... I mean, I guess they do, right? A modern solution wouldn't be a solution if it didn't have a modern problem to solve. Someone says that looks clean. Thank you. I can't pronounce your name, unfortunately, because it's written in some language. I don't know how to... I haven't learned that language yet. It's just this is gonna be like... I'm just been working on this top bit while I think about this, and my brain hasn't settled on a solution for that yet, because I don't know, there's just something about it that's just not right. Okay, maybe we'll try and focus on... we'll try and focus on maybe this back bit. I know that this edge... we'll try and connect that, because this does need to be connected. I think it's possible that... I don't know if that'll actually connect, because I wanted to put an edge there, but that's not going to connect. That's not going to work. Unless it comes down lower, which I don't know. Well, actually, let me look. I need to figure out how low this should come, because if I make this go lower, then that will touch, because these aren't going to intersect. These will not, this will go here, and then there's just going to be this weird line. I want them to connect in a triangle shape, though. So I need to look at a tank top to see how far the sleeves, because I don't wear these things, so I don't know how far they should come down. Okay, it's a bit hard to tell because these are all from the front. So I guess it's a matter of picking, like, okay, well, yeah, they're all a bit different. So it's like, how far down should they come down? How tight, well, how, like, what's the thing I'm trying to think? Like, how loose, I guess, should it be? I feel like if it's for athletic wear, maybe it shouldn't be that loose, probably. Okay, well, it looks like on this one, this part and the bottoms of this sort of come around the same point. Alright. So I can't, okay, well that's very, the proportions are very different there. So maybe this already does come down too low. Maybe this should come down less low. I gotta look at her, reference real quick. Oh, okay, I've got one drawing where you can kind of see it from the back, but you can't see the front, so that's not great. And on this drawing, her arm is covering the sleeve. Okay. I don't know, because I don't really know, like, I don't know, I don't wear these, so I don't know I don't know how they should fit. I don't know how far, because I have seen those ones where it's like ridiculous, where it comes down like to here, and I'm not going to go there because that's just kind of, that's comical, and I don't want that. But I've already got those edges there, and I want to use them. Because if I can use those edges, because those edges need to be there anyway, and those create a perfect line. So I don't know, we'll try and just connect that to the bottom, I guess, but it's, might have to maybe change some of the... Because, yeah, I wanted these to kind of, like, touch, but then that would... I don't want it to touch like that, if you know what I mean. Because if I do it like that, it just looks like you can kind of tell, like it. I don't know. Maybe if I can, maybe I can make that work. I didn't want it to be like this sort of chamfered edge, or maybe if I do this, okay, maybe that'll help. Okay, but I might have to. Oh, I don't want to move. I don't want to move the edges around too much because that is a big. Let's go back. Because then you gotta worry that it doesn't like change the shape of the body. Okay. Oh, it just looks a little off there, doesn't it? Looks a little off, but I don't want to add like another edge loop. But I might have to. I don't know. We'll try adding one more. I don't want to, but we'll try. Because it's too straight. Oh, but that won't work. Oh, no, maybe. Maybe. If I'm smart about it. Because that way, you know, we can make it less low poly looking. Except that edge is... God, that's awful. That is an awful... It has to go around. I don't know, we might be able to find another use for this edge. Oh no, but not like that. That's not good. Let's move you in. Maybe that should... Oh, but that's gonna ruin that. No. Okay, yeah, this is tricky. It's tricky modeling in the costume into the body. Because then you don't want to change the shape of the body. You don't want to do that. But, oh, that's awful. No, that's bad. Because what I'm thinking is... Maybe... I don't know about this, but I feel like maybe the natural thing to do would be to maintain the shape of the body, to do this. But that looks terrible, unless I somehow like adjust these a little. I mean, I guess it's a bit better. It's slightly better. That's a little better. Just looks a little awkward. Actually, I kind of prefer that, to be honest. Yeah, alright. Well, look, I didn't want to add that extra edge loop, but we might be able to use it to accentuate her back a little, like the shoulder blades, so that actually might not be so terrible. So I'll adjust those a bit, so we got a bit of extra detail. It's just getting it to connect more. Oh, where should that connect? Okay, well... Oh, wait a minute. Actually, having this edge might solve a problem. Because if that connects there, I can make that into a quad. Sick. Except now this edge... Okay, maybe that wasn't a great idea. Because now this edge is like kind of just awkwardly sitting there. So I'm gonna put the edge in... The edge has to go up, I think. Or not, I don't know. I'll have to make up my mind on that edge. Actually, no, that should... No. No, this is all wrong. No. this should go across. So maybe it should be like that. Except that does look a bit awkward. I'll have to think more about that one. But at least we've got this sort of. I mean, it's okay. It's just a. I gotta bring this. It's too. There's something a little off about that. It's just a bit too sharp. Ah. No, that needs to be in like that for the shadow. All right. Well, I just hope that that does not look weird, because it's just having it go in like that on the top. Like for the red line, it looks weird, but for the shading, it looks fine. So I really hope that's not going to be a problem. But I mean, it's still better. We're getting there. It's better than it was. Question is now. I feel like this edge is superfluous. I feel like it's unnecessary because it doesn't resolve and it doesn't really add any. I mean, oh, it kind of does though. It kind of does. I don't know, what if I delete it? Oh, it makes the shoulder look a little strange, but I might be able to use this edge to solve that. Okay, I gotta be careful. I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna move these edges down to replace where it was. Because it needs to have that kind of, it can't be like flat, it has to have that kind of curved shape to it. But because this edge resolves a bit better, this might be the edge for the job. And we can get away with using less, I hope, because it is a little, I'm starting to see some issues. I'm starting to see some issues here where it's like, you know, like when a quad is like being bent? I'm seeing some of that, and that's worrying me. So I don't know about that one. That might be a bad idea. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back. Bring that, because that edge might be useful after all. Because when it's there, the polygons don't warp as much. But I might move it down a little bit. But this connects. It like both of these connect to this part on the back. But then I don't like this triangle here. I don't like how that's looking. Something about it isn't right. Actually, I could get rid of that edge. That now makes a bit more sense. I'm liking that. So maybe we should keep that edge. Because the important thing here is that there is muscle there, and we got to keep that in. We got to have the singlet sort of going around it without messing that up, which I've been trying to do. So I feel like maybe these should come out a bit more. Because then there's still a bit of warping here on this little guy. I mean, it's better. Let's see if I can make a full loop. Ah, no. I've still got something wrong. There's still something wrong. Yeah, no. I've messed up something. So. Okay. Let me. I'm gonna try and explain. This edge, the outer edge, because we can use that for a seam, so that's okay. That's actually fine. It's the next one in. It's a problematic. Because, I mean, it technically connects, but it doesn't. We could do better than that. I think what should happen. I think I know what to do. These, yeah. So these should come this way. Oh, okay, no, that's literally it, actually. They need to come out this way more, and then that way, that'll connect. Except, it's this edge then. Because that kind of... It looks like... Okay. To get it to... Because I'm trying to think, like, the edges should kind of mirror on either side, roughly. Like, they should behave in a similar sense. Except I don't like how that's looking. That's a bit more consistent in the sense that... What am I trying to say? Because this edge could make it the full way around. But it does get a bit disrupted by this edge. So... I have to think a little bit. Kirosia says, great thing to watch while doing homework. Thanks. Ever try loop tools? No. I don't know what those are. I don't want to take a risk on using some new tool. Because usually I gotta then get familiar with the tool, and I'd rather just not. I'd rather stick to what I know. Will the game have a real name? I mean, it has a real name. It's Project Feline. I literally, like... I feel like that's kind of the name. Like, I can't think of a better name. And it kind of... It can work with the story, too. I know you guys can't see how, but I can see how, because I know the story. But it'll work with the story, I think. And everyone already knows it as Project Feline, so to rename it would be a big shoot myself in the foot moment. So yeah. Would it be better to merge them into one? No, it wouldn't. Because you mean these two, don't you? No, because it needs... Because then, if I did that... Oh. Well, just imagine it. Imagine if they were looped into one. The shoulder would then be very blocky. So for reference, because I know some of you are starting... I can see the 3D art students arriving now, trying to tell me how to model. So keep in mind, here is an Arc System Works model of the shoulder. And you'll probably have a fit looking at this, because this is probably not how you were taught to do it. But this is like kind of... These are the rules I'm basing on. So I'm kind of throwing the traditional rules out the window, because... It's going to take too long to explain, just trust me. It's going to take too long to explain why it was done that way, but just trust me. If I'm looking at what they're doing and if they've got things done a certain way, then I'm going to do it that way. So you can actually see in terms of the lighting and normals, because now I've got this edge, which I didn't have before, where they have this edge on this side of where the shoulder tendon is. So I didn't have that earlier, and I do, so that's great. But you'll probably notice as well that what I'm trying to do isn't something that they've really done, where I'm trying to have these clean shoulders, and they put their seams in different spots than I have. In fact, I don't actually know, because some of these seams don't make any sense at all to me, so maybe, I don't know. I'm kind of, again, mixing my own knowledge with their knowledge, and that some of the stuff they do I still don't understand, but I have that... actually, I don't know if I've got that loop. I don't know if I've got a loop like that red one there. I might. I'll have to see. Okay, I do. Kind of. But they have this, like, crease here, which I've got a little bit of. But mine... I guess it's sort of... It's similar. It works well enough. Although I could probably... No, I'm not going to risk it. I'm thinking maybe... do I want to risk it? Because I was thinking maybe I could merge that down there, but I don't know if that'll be a good idea or not. That might be might not be. Anyway, so... Obviously, because their thing is they do have some, like, a lot of these loops do not have, like, they don't go full way around. But I'm trying to do mine like that anyway, because I just know that it should, but I can't, I'm not at the point where I can explain to you why. I just know that if I don't, then I'm going to have issues. I know that these guys, though, can probably get away with not doing it and not have a... But you'll see here, this doesn't quite work. But you will notice another thing, because what I'm trying to balance is theirs will then split off into more edge loops, like here, for instance. So I can't merge those into one loop, because you need to have those here so that the shoulder is still a smooth shape. but I don't want the edge loops going the full way around because I don't want as many. I want the vertices to be very stretched at the elbow, and there's like shading and rigging reasons for that, but that'll take too long to explain. Now that I'm looking at this again, I think I might have a way I can work that out. Yeah, I do know how many more vertices there are, but it's like, remember, I'm not trying to copy their model, I'm just looking at their techniques. So, I just gotta like work it out. Because they also have like, because I've looked at some of their other models and they actually do end up, like in the later games, it's even more high poly, but I don't want to go that far. Like I have to make some of my own choices of like how far do I want to sort of stick to it. And probably another thing that's setting people into a fit is like the triangles. So just ignore, like, unless you've read all the papers, just don't bother, because it's like, it's gonna take too long to explain. But I think, because I have an idea on how I want this to work, because I know from experience of my other models how I want the shoulder to work for rigging and text and UV mapping, which I couldn't do for theirs. Like their shoulder, I would have a lot of trouble unwrapping that. So what I'm trying to do is sort of have it follow the same shape and deform the same, but in a way where I can unwrap it easy, and I can like, I don't know how to explain it, but I know in my head, I know. So it's, I don't know, it's hard to explain. You just got to trust the process. One thing I do like though is that I've got this now, because I can use that for shading later, which is, they have a similar thing. It's just, that's nice. I like how that's going. It's just, it's this edge. Thanks so much, Xavier, for the $4.99. I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking around. How many face count am I trying to aim? I don't have an aim. I just, I've been being asked that a lot the last few weeks, and I'm not thinking about poly count. I don't think about poly count the way I used to. There's a lot of reasons for why that is. One of the reasons is poly count doesn't really matter nowadays. Like, that doesn't mean you should go full on. Doesn't mean you should use 1 million. But it's unlikely that it, like, if the character is like 1,000 extra polygons, like instead of 2,000, it's 3,000. In today's computers, that is negligible. Won't make a difference. I'm not really thinking about a target count. I'm instead thinking about every vertice, every edge. What purpose is it? It just so happens, by accident, that this model is significantly lower in poly count than the old model, which is cool. I don't really care, but it's cool that it's lower poly. The way I'm thinking about it is more like, because every edge needs a purpose. And I wasn't thinking about that in my old model. And that's why the poly count was higher. So in this case, it's like, it's not that I'm averse to adding more polygons, but I'm just trying to think about what is the purpose of this. So I'm being very intentional, because I've noticed with, at least for Arc System Works' models, it looks like every edge was really thought about. Like I can't explain to you why, but I can just tell. And I don't know why I can tell, but when I've just looked at it all, it's like every time I look at an edge, it has like 3 different purposes. And it's like, oh, that's cool. So I've been thinking about it like that instead, and I've just not thought about how many poly counts it is, because it doesn't really matter if they all do something. Like if they all have a purpose, it doesn't really matter. But that's not like, again, with these live streams, don't take these as like tutorials, because they're not. These are not like, these aren't trying to teach you how to do this, because all of this stuff really only applies if you're trying to like make this type of model, which I've learned the hard way. Like it's not the kind of thing you can Google online and learn with this style, because there's only one studio that's like done this style. So it's like, it breaks a lot of rules. It doesn't do it like the conventional way. But I feel like you have to break the rules to be exceptional, and that's what my goal is. So that's why I'm like I've unlearned all of my knowledge and I'm relearning it for that purpose. So, but it took a lot of research. Like, the only reason I'm doing it is because, again, I spent like a month researching this beforehand. So a lot of the stuff I do probably won't make sense, but when you see the end result, I think that's it. It'll only make sense at the end when it's like done, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that's why. But that's, weirdly enough, that's kind of been with everything I've done. Like, even in my programming streams, a lot of the time I remember having to tell people, like, just wait to the end and it'll make sense. That's why I don't make videos as often now, like with devlogs, because a lot of the decisions don't make sense unless it's like you've taken it to its conclusion, and then it like only at the end it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's like one of those things that's kind of hard to explain. Okay, so here I'm just trying to play around a bit. Yeah, no, this wasn't a good move, adding that edge. That wasn't a good idea. Or no, wait a minute, because I'm just trying to pay attention, because the back and the front are starting to become more similar, which is good. It's actually a good thing, because it should have been like that from the start anyway. But what isn't good is this. So I'm trying to think like which edge corresponds to the other side. So that looks like, okay, that needs to come to, that needs to like touch there. Now this is like not how I wanted to do it, but I'm just ideating. This is what I end, like a lot of the time with this, I usually just have to, kind of play with it and then I'll figure it out. It just takes some persistence. So I know that this, there's something not right here. I don't like this. That's probably the best I'll be able to explain it for the moment. It's just, I'll tell you what I like and don't like. Something like I don't know what it is, but I can like look at something and I can say if it's like, when I say I like it, it means I don't think it'll cause an issue. And when I don't like it, it means that, I don't know, there's just something that seems off about it. So this is, I'm liking this a bit more, but there's still something not right. It's this top bit. I don't like this. Maybe, okay, to get it to mirror the other side, I think I might know what to do here. Oh. All right, bear with me, bear with me. Oh no, I need to see those. Okay, let me go back, because I need to see these edges, but I need to draw over them. All right. I'm liking this a bit better. But it's sitting a bit funny. It needs to Needs to come out so it doesn't divot in too much. Because that now kind of mirrors what's going on the other side a bit better, which is cool. Because I guess that makes sense. And I guess if I look at their models, I mean, it's not an exact mirror, but theirs does kind of follow similar flows on the other side, but it isn't the exact same. There's probably a reason for that too. Dylan Goo Studios, someone's mentioned that. I think I've seen some of his stuff before. I think I found some animation that he had done, but that still isn't quite what I'm going for. Like, I haven't watched all of his stuff, but it's like, it still looks CG to me. Like, it doesn't look Arc System Works, and I'm kind of just narrowly focusing on them. I don't really care, like, what other studios have tried, because I'm just looking at them, and it's like, all right, well, that's exactly what I want, so I'm just gonna look at them. Because I did a bit of research last month for, like, I'm not sure if it was him, but I found like a bunch of like videos about NPR, and a lot of them it's like it's off. Like, I get what they're trying to do. Like, there's been other people I think that have looked at the techniques a bit, but then they deviate from it and like change stuff. Like, there was this one I found where it was like they were doing they were trying to do the material from Arc System Works, but the topology was wrong. Like, they hadn't read the talk about the topology, and I could tell because the topology on the face was all wrong. It was like the normal type of topology that you normally do. And I made that mistake too on my last model, so I kind of stopped looking at YouTube, because it's like, there's just a not, like, I had to like dig a lot to find the things I needed, and it wasn't on YouTube, so I just stopped looking there, because it was just like, it's stuff that I had already seen, and then half the stuff was just my videos, and it's like, oh well, I don't need to watch my own videos. But yeah, like, I looked a bit at like BNPR and stuff. There's maybe like one artist I saw that had it close that I wanted to try and look at, but they don't post on, I think it's like some Twitter artist, they don't really post much on YouTube. And then there was some video that was basically just like looking at this person's portfolio, but because they weren't the person, it was some channel where I don't know what it is, but they just kind of like find stuff online and talk about it, but they don't actually do anything. So the insight was not valuable. I think they actually did that to one of my videos once. I don't know what channel it was. It might have been like some NPR channel, but they just like find stuff and say, oh, and then they did this technique. But because they haven't actually done it, they miss a lot. And I remember, I think I had heard about them because they had made a video about my video. But because they aren't like they're doing it, they kind of missed a whole like part of it that I had put in my video. So I was like, all right, well, these guys are just trying to make videos and get views. Like, I don't think you gotta be careful, that's the thing. Especially with YouTube, you gotta be very careful. Because anyone can go on and make a tutorial on this and make a few $100 from it. Doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. That includes me, by the way. That's why I don't make tutorials. Because I don't know, I'm just doing what I want, and I'm just doing what I think works for me. I'm by no means, I do not want to be a resource, because I don't know, you gotta figure it out for yourself, I think. That's what I believe. I used to try, like when I was learning blueprints, for instance, I think learning from YouTube was a mistake, because there was some tutorial I was trying to look at for my wall run, but I didn't realize at the time how bad practice, how prevalent that was. So I had this solution that was terrible, but it was exactly the tutorial, but it didn't take me until a few years later to realize that it was a bad tutorial and it wasn't scalable. And I guess that's kind of incentivized with YouTube, I guess. Because most of these are not really made in series, they're just made like one-off videos. So I kind of went, all right, I'm just gonna have to work this out by myself. So I did. And now I kind of, at least for the programming part, like I understand a lot more about the like what I was doing, but I wasn't able to get that from looking at videos. Like, you kind of have to just sit there and do it. Okay, so with this, I'm not happy with that still. I know it looks a lot similar. It looks closer to this now, but there's just something about it that's not right. I can't put my finger on what it is, but I know that there's something wrong. I know that it's I don't know what it is, but I know that there's, it's not, something isn't right. Something isn't right with it. Something is not right. It's this shouldn't, I don't know if that should be there. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it should. Yeah, no, there's one too many edges. Yeah, no, that needs to be merged to there. And this should come down. Because something about the shading looked off. I mean, it's closer. It's closer. Remember, it's not that it should be an exact mirror. It's just, what I'm thinking about is the edges should behave the same. And this looks pretty close, actually. Like, the edges, it goes around and then in, and then around and in. So that's better. Because I've noticed, and you might be thinking, some of you might say it should go down, and there's a deliberate reason I'm not doing that. If we go and look at an Arc System Works armpit, all of their models have this going on. I've looked at about 5 different models, and they all have this thing where this face will always go up into there. So let's look at how mine does that. It's a little off there though, but it's in terms of the general vibe and, like, you know, the general flow of it, it's close. So it has this kind of, I don't know what you'd call that shape, but it looks like one of the difference, and remember, it's not trying to be an exact copy, it's just the general gist of it. The only thing is that there's just a bit more. I think I deliberately didn't put some of these in because I didn't want there to be that much. I didn't want it to be that detailed. They have an extra loop going. Although that might be useful. Let me think if there would be a reason to do that. Because I don't have that, I don't have an edge like this in there. And not all of them do either, because then you've got, like, some of the other characters have arms that are completely different. So it's just a matter of picking and choosing what you want to adopt and what you want to discard. That's what I found, at least. Although I do see a problem that I did notice a while ago that I still haven't addressed. I think I have noticed. I have noticed that the shoulder does come up a bit too high, so we'll it needs to be a bit smoother. So we'll do that. Because when I was rigging this, I noticed that the shoulders were a little, like, I was thinking, yeah, making her buff, but it was a little too much, I think. So I'm gonna taper that down a little bit. Because the peak should be up here. And that should be a bit flatter. So, general gist, it's similar enough. The only thing, though, is that they do have a lot more going on this crease. And I for the life of me, can't figure it out. Like, they have like, a bunch of stuff, and it, like, parts of it merge into the armpit, some don't, and it's like, I don't know if I want to try and do the same, because it's... I don't understand enough about... Because they don't have a torque... They don't go that in detail. Like, they go in detail to some things, but not in others. And with bits like this part, they obviously aren't going to just talk about the armpit. So for those bits, I kind of have to... That's like a gap that I have to fill in with my own, like, what I think is reasonable and make my own choice. But... So far, this is yeah, see this? This is much better. I like how this edge is going. And I like that. So that's going to be a lot easier to work with for texturing. because now these edges actually follow the right way. So we might be able to move on, unless there's some other problem I find. I'm really hoping there isn't. Oh no, we still haven't finished. We still gotta do this. That's gonna be a bit tricky to solve, eh? Although now that I'm looking at it, I might have an idea. I might have an idea on how to solve this. I don't know if it's a great idea. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It might not be a great idea. I was thinking of like merging that edge into like this, but that's not how theirs do it, so we're not going to do that. Theirs merges down, which maybe, I don't know, maybe I could try that. Because one thing I've sort of got it a little, but I think they do have an extra edge. Let's see if I can show you what I mean. Because I'm starting to see one thing I am missing. They do have an edge here that's like a sharp edge that's used for shading, which maybe that'll suffice. Like if I mark that as a sharp edge, I don't know. I don't know if that will be enough, because they do have a few more extra things going on. Okay, I'll keep that where that was, because then it kind of merges up, and it's a bit hard to. This particular part I've looked at for a long time on their models, and I don't get it. Because it's all, and then for every model they do, they always do it a little bit different. So I don't know. Hopefully that's good enough. Let's try and mark some seams. See how we go. I just gotta think like where a good seam would go. Would it go here, or I think it'll go further up. Clear seam. How do I? Where's clear seam? There we go. So now I'm liking that much better, because then I can just, you know, I can cut that off and texture it. Although now that I'm looking at it, yeah, that should be fine. I'm just, yeah, actually no, let me think. Because what I don't like now is, because of the costume. It wouldn't be the case if there wasn't a costume there, but this is going to be like separated, and then so is all this. So we're going to have this weird thing, which I'm not sure if I'm a fan of. I don't know if I like this, but we're going to have to, like, this will be on its own island, which I don't know if I like. Maybe, should I combine it with the yeah, no, I should combine that with the shoulder. It should be one. So we won't have that. That'll all just be one bit. Just the whole shoulder, and then the arm will be its own thing too. Speaking of which, did I put seams on the... Oh, I did. Okay, cool. Because I want to have seams on the elbow so that you can put lines in it. So now, I mean, the only thing I'm worried about is the weights, or the rig. So I should test that before I continue. Oh no, I keep getting ahead of myself. I still got to solve this. We have this big missing thing here, and it's 5-sided. And it's like, I don't want to... That is not going to be the solution. So I don't want to do that. I got to think of a good way to resolve that problem. I'm trying to think. This is sitting a bit low, so maybe these should all come up a little bit. These should all come up. And now I gotta think, how do I want to solve that? I could put an edge. I could put an edge like there and do that, but I don't know if that's right either. We will need a vertice there for sure. It's just how it's going to connect with the rest. Because yeah, that's obviously, it's a quad, but it's, something isn't right about that now, is it? Something's a bit wrong. Maybe if I reshape... No, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like how that's looking. Unless... That might, maybe, but... I don't know, maybe that's the best we can do for now. I'm looking at how they connect stuff, and... It's, there's no real exact... I mean, they have, like, they do it where they've got a bunch of triangles here instead, which I don't have. So, I mean, I guess it's not a huge difference. Probably won't matter. I don't know. There's something about it, though. It's where it is. It's because it's near a point that bends. It's setting off my alarm bells. Something about it is off. I'm not liking where it is. There's just something about it that isn't right. I could do better. I'm gonna just delete this whole bit. Maybe, well, maybe that, can I connect that at the middle? No, that, not quite, doesn't quite do it. That doesn't quite do it. No. I've had to deal with this. I've redone this area like 2 times or 3 times maybe. So I have an idea on what not to put there, but it's just finding the right solution. Because I want this to stay going where it is. It's just this. Where should that all go? I feel like maybe that should go here. No, that's dangerous too, because then there needs to be some other edge going through there. Because that's gonna like, it's gonna fold all weirdly like that. I think. I'm trying to think of the most natural place to put it, but then we get this big gap. Maybe that's, I don't know, maybe I do it like that, because they, but then, so I guess, let me try and see if I could explain it. So, I guess it's really a question of whether this should connect like that, because it doesn't really need to, because I'm not going to be using that to cut out a UV island, so it doesn't need to connect up. It could connect across like this. But it doesn't do that on the other side, so I feel like that's maybe not a good move. I feel like if it's connecting up to this edge on this side, it should do the same on this side. But then we get this problem, and it's like, you know. Or, okay, let me try something else. Because I know that this should definitely come down like that. I think that should do that. That should maybe come across. Except this is basically what I had, just with another edge going through it. Okay, let's try and maybe move this out. Will that cause a problem? I mean, this looks like it might sit a bit more natural having that there. Now it's just this. Okay, I'm liking this a bit more. On second thought, if I could just get that over one, that'd be brilliant. Or would it? No, something's not right. No. That should go up. I don't know how this used to connect. Could I bring... I already tried this, didn't I? Yeah, no. I just gotta think. I'll figure it out. It'll come to me. I'm just so tired. I got like maybe 5 or 6 hours of sleep, so that could be it. I mean, let's just do that. Well, let's do that. Let's try and see if I regenerate auto weights. Let's see if there'll be an issue, and if there's no issue, then it'll be fine. Because the thing is, there isn't really an analog for mine and their model. Because now my model is now too different in shape to kind of follow some of this. Like, I don't know. Trying it, because it looks like, now that I look at theirs, it's like, to change that, I don't know, that might be more work than it's worth. It might be. Like, I can kind of see what's going on, but I have the way that, because I can see a difference. They have an edge that goes there. Their edges kind of go that way, and mine don't. Actually, should I do it? Should I do it? I'm gonna save first. I don't like this where this edge sits, so I'm gonna take a risk. I want to do something that might completely backfire, because their edge flow goes, it's just off by a little. It kind of goes like this, but it's hard to tell because it's all triangulated. So it's like a bit hard to judge, because mine isn't. It's diverged a bit. It somehow has to connect here. I don't know. I'm just gonna try it. I have to know if this will go well or not. Because they seem to... Oh, that might ruin what I had there, though. So, I don't know. That might not work. And it looks like all of this flows sideways. But not quite. This, oh yeah, it's a bit different. I'll figure it out. It'll come to me. There's that just what I had before? I don't know, I can't tell anymore. But that kind of makes a better shape, and that does look a little more like what they've got. So we might have that there. It's just this bit. There's just something about it that's just off. Usually, here's the unfortunate thing that happens sometimes. Because my old model, I had a lot of this happen, where I would model it, and my brain would go, something's off. The thing is, because I was a lot younger then, and I didn't know to listen to that voice, so I would ignore it. And then that led to problems. And it usually wasn't until years later where I then worked it out, and I was like, oh, that makes sense now. So what I have to do is, I'm trying to make it so that it doesn't take me years to know what's off, but I at least know to listen to that. I don't know what it is. It's not like a voice. It's like a sense. I don't know what it is, but it goes off all the time. Like when I'm doing a thumbnail for YouTube and it's like the shadow or the silhouette, if there's something wrong with it, it'll point it out and go, no. And then I'll have to like sit there and go and argue with it and go, all right, well, what's wrong with it? And then it'll come to me after like an hour or two, and then it's like, okay, I get it. And then it's just, when it comes to 3D though, it's a bit more complicated than doing a thumbnail. So it takes a little longer for the solution to I don't know what it is. It kind of like, it's not that I find the solution, it's that the solution finds me. I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, it's kind of like when I'm drawing or when I'm like when I'm like trying to come up with like a character or something. Like, I had this little story from when I was making Felix's design. That was so easy. Like, it literally just came out of nothing. And it, like, the idea for his character. I didn't even have to think. It just kind of came, and I was like, oh yes, of course. And then I drew it, and then it was just like, I was like, yes, this has to be a character. And usually I get to a point in everything where I can reach of like that, I don't know what you call it. It's like that aha type moment. It always happens. It just takes, sometimes it just takes a bit. But I don't know what you call that. I don't know what it's called. I don't know if there's some kind of name for it. Maybe it's intuition, but I don't know. It's like it's very vocal. It's almost like a second voice or a second person just sitting in there going like, you know, it's like in the show Mr. Robot. Whenever Elliot's doing something and he's like arguing with himself, that's what it's like. It's like I've got little Mr. Robot in there saying, "No, you got to stick to the plan, Elliot." It's kind of how it is. I don't know if anyone else has that, but it's constant for me. So whenever I'm quiet, I'm talking to myself. That's what's going on. Precognition? I've heard that word before. Yeah, maybe, says Seth. It's called maybe metacognition. I've heard that. I think precognition, if I remember, that's like when you can predict the future. I don't know, maybe that's what it is. But I've also heard the term metacognition before, which maybe that's not the same thing. I don't know. But it's like, I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth explaining because it's I don't really know how to describe it. I don't know what it is. It's just a thing, you know. And it comes down to even things you wouldn't think. Like when I'm like even when it's like when I'm making like what is it? Because I'm thinking about modeling. I'm trying to think about this specific thing now. But it's like when I'm doing even like a script, like, yeah, like actually it works really well in script writing. The voice is really good at doing that. Because I'll be writing like a sentence and then it just goes, no, wrong sentence, try again. And then I'll go, okay, and then I'll write it again. And then sometimes it'll actually work and it's like, okay, yeah, move on. But then sometimes it goes, no, that's still not it. And then it'll take me like 3 hours to come up with like the right thing. And then maybe I rewrite the whole paragraph, but then it happens, and then it's like, okay, yeah, then I kind of have it, and it's like, all right, there we go. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's like having a coach, maybe. I don't know if coaches act like that, but maybe that's what it is. It's like a dude who's sitting in there, and he's just like, he either, you know, depending on what you do, he says like yes, or he says no, that's cringe, don't do it. Okay, so what I'm thinking, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I don't want to put another edge here because that wouldn't make sense. That wouldn't solve the problem. Because then that edge is going to have to get resolved somehow. So I don't want to do that. But by the same token, well, because I could try and like wire this edge across, and no, that wouldn't fix it either. I don't know. I can't explain it. I just know that there's a combination of vertices that will solve this. And my brain has to run all the simulations first. But the solution is, oh, okay, I have it, but I didn't want to do it like this, but I have it. This will work. The reason this will work is because, okay, I needed to, okay, I got it. The reason this will work, I wouldn't remember, these are the Arc System rules. I wouldn't recommend you do this normally. But the reason this will work is because this entire thing is only there for the costume. But if we were to take that edge out, we could still keep bits of it, and we could like it would like the quads still make sense. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but trust me, I know that that'll work. That'll be fine. This will work. That shouldn't have any issues. But to make sure, I'm going to... I just want to check the proportions. Because the only thing I'm not happy with is like the proportions of like the top. I feel like we might have trouble. Like I feel like it's too tight there. I feel like this should come out more, if you know what I mean. And it looks like I haven't joined these vertices for whatever reason, so we'll do that. Like, yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Oh. Okay, that's I didn't do those faces properly. And we got to make sure these are welded together. Okay, that looks alright. So, yeah, I just don't know about, like, if this needs to... I think this does need to come out a little bit. Although, this has to... It's got to relax a little. I don't know, that we might not be able to tell if this is like proportioned right until we get the actual like material going. All right, well, I mean, let's I just gotta think. We should check this with like the weights and see if it screws up. The only thing I'm not, now that I'm looking at it head on, the only thing I'm not really a fan of is I feel like these here should join up there, but that's not going to be easy, and I maybe shouldn't try and fight that battle. But this should, this needs to come up a little bit, I think. Or not, I don't know. It's hard to, well, let's just try it with the weights, because I could be adjusting this all day. So I need the skeleton. It might, well, because it's generated it from before. So we might, there should be a way to regenerate them. I just gotta remember. Just my brain, I don't know, maybe I'm just tired. My voice is starting to get really loud. Thinking about, like, started thinking about video editing now, which is a bit annoying because I'm not doing video editing. Yeah, because that's the thing. Sometimes it'll just start thinking about other stuff, and it's like, no, we're not doing video editing right now. So yeah. So I gotta clear. I gotta clear the parent. That's what I gotta do, and then we gotta rejoin it. Now it's gonna mess up the head. Don't worry. I just need to look at auto weights. And actually, while we're doing that, I might be able to fix the knee too, because the knee is too high. Okay, so I just want to look at like how it's bending. That's actually kind of better than it was, so that's pretty cool. It's actually better. So it's improved. It's just there is something that I'm not sure about, because I'm gonna try and pose the shoulder so that it's sitting naturally. Like that. And you can... this is why sometimes more polys is not good, because it's rubber hosing, and that wasn't happening before. Because I put in more edge loops now, and now it's rubber hosing. so that's not so good. So, yeah. I kind of thought that would happen. My voice was telling me... That's... Now that I can see it, that's what my voice was trying to tell me, is that it was saying... it's saying weight paints. It's saying it's going to be bad. But you see how it's like... Just with the shading, you can kind of tell it's like... You can kind of tell, right? I don't know if it's just me seeing it, but you can... It doesn't look... Something isn't right. It doesn't look right. So I didn't have this problem before because there was less edge loops. And you might be thinking, well, can't you just like adjust the weights? The idea is you shouldn't have to in this case. The idea is that because Arc System Works has a full hour-long presentation on rigging. They have two, I think. They have one on weights and one on bone placement. And I know that the bone placement for the shoulder is like good. It's not as good for the hips, but for the shoulder it's fine. Or, I don't know, maybe... Because I remember there was someone who showed me their topology for it. They were trying to copy this and do this topology for the shoulder, but they hadn't read the documents. So what they got the bone placement wrong, where they put the bone out here, like way too far out. If you actually look at my bone placement, I don't think that's the issue, but I'll tell you how it can be a problem. Can I show you? So this is where I put... Okay, maybe it does need to be... Maybe, because now that I've redone the shoulder a bit, maybe it does need to be further back. Because if you... Oh, wait, no, let me Hold on, let me reset the pose. It's the wrong pose. Okay, that's better. Maybe I don't know, maybe it has to be further back. Because if you put it too far forward... Because what you don't want... I think what this guy was doing... He'd, like, put the bone here. Like there, which is no, that's wrong. And I think that's where mine is. I think it should be here. That's where it should be. So maybe I need to move it, and that might solve it. Because when you have it too far out, that causes that like rubber hosing effect, where the elbow, the armpit like bends up. That's if you have the bone too far out, that's what happens. So the idea is, because when I was a beginner, I just thought, oh well, no problem. I'll just manually adjust the weight paints. And it's like, if you've done enough weight painting, you want to avoid weight painting. You don't want to waste time on that. You don't want to do that. You want it to work. You want it to be like 99% with auto weights, I think. Because I've managed to do that for most of everything else in this model, where I've like automatic, and then it's like 99% close. Because that's amazing. That's what I'm aiming for. So if it's not there, it's like auto, like, as I showed with my old model, there are problems that weight paints will not fix. So my goal is to avoid weight painting manually. I'm gonna have to a little. That's not saying no weight painting. It's just avoiding it as much as you can. Because I do sincerely believe you can get it really close with auto if you do it right with the model. So that's what I'm aiming for. So let's look at the bone placement, because maybe I need to move it now that I've redone the shoulder. That could be the case. Now this is gonna... I didn't think I'd be doing this today, because here's where things get a little complicated. So Arc System Works, this is where my workflow deviates a bit again from Arc System Works. Because they make rigs that are very complicated for their characters, and they have to because the characters have lots of clothes and extremities and all that stuff. Mine doesn't. So I instead simplify my rigging. My rigging is not as complicated as theirs, and it doesn't need to be for my purposes. So I've got Rigify for the skeleton. Arc System Works don't use Rigify, obviously, because it's a Blender plugin. They do it all manually, probably, but they also have things where, you know, like if a character has like a cape, they'll have all these bones through the cape. So Gabi doesn't have a cape. She doesn't have, like, they'll have like bones for the clothes so that they wrestle in the wind or whatever. I don't need any of that. So Rigify is going to work fine. However, Rigify is a little weird. And I'll show you why. Because my issue here is that this bone needs to come further back. That's what I think anyway. It needs to come there. That's where it needs to be. And some of you might be saying, Ray, that's too far. I've read the talk. That's where they put the bones. They put them comically far back like this. So I'm going to do that. And while we're here, we might as well do it here because this is another bit of a tangent, but the knees are too low and I need to fix them. So I'm going to take the time now to just move them. Might as well do it. So these need to come up about there. And I need to move the bone because I've noticed that I had a reference. Let me go look for it. Because I redid the knees a few times, and I found that eventually the top half of the leg got too long. But I do have a picture showing what the proportions are roughly meant to be like. I'm just gonna look for it. Okay, there we go. I can barely see that reference. Oh, yeah, I can barely see it. So I'll just eyeball it. It should be. Let me just like measure. It should be like the same length. Maybe a little lower. Yeah, that's what it should be. Now for the bone, I gotta remember where that should be. Because the thing is too is that, I don't know if I've got a picture. Because they have a whole, literally an hour-long thing about bone placement. It's no joke. It's no joke. I just gotta find a picture. I don't know if I've still got it open or not. If I have it open, I'll show it, but if not, I won't bother. I don't think I've got it open, because it'll take ages to find. But essentially, oh no, wait, I think I might have found it. Because yeah, I still haven't closed, I haven't closed any tabs in like 3 months. So, but they all, I need them all, so it's like, whatever. You guys don't need to see it. You don't have to see my messy tabs, don't worry about it. But they, I'm trying to find the one with the leg. They've got one with the leg. So yeah, I didn't think I'd be doing this today, but you might as well get it right now, because if you don't, it's gonna be a pain. So they have this thing for the knee. So so it's funny, isn't it? Because I would think to put it on the kneecap, but that's actually wrong. You want it like kind of there. So let's see if I can adjust it. So mine's a little too low, actually. Like, actually, I've got a lot of windows open. Let me combine these all. I'll put that on my other screen. But yeah, we might as well get this right, because it's not UV mapping, but the UV mapping won't matter if this is wrong. So this is why things get a bit... This is why my sort of pipeline's been a bit strange, because with Arc System Works, it looks to me like they don't... Because what I was taught to do was, you know, your model, UV, texture, rig, and animate. But I've been kind of doing everything at the same time. And I actually find that's better, but it only because I kind of get what you do at each step. It doesn't work if you're starting off because you don't understand anything yet, but if you kind of know how rigging and if you understand how that all works, you can kind of do them all at once. And I've actually found that to be much better. Like doing rigging and modeling simultaneously, as I've been doing, is honestly taking less time than doing it one after the other. Even though it seems like it wouldn't, I don't know, maybe not. But, and let me get the feet bones. Okay, I think that might be still a bit too high. I think this might need to come up a bit more. Because then they have a whole thing about the feet bones, which I admittedly have not done well. So I'm just trying to pay attention. Because it's got to be in like the middle. So it's got to be around there. Okay, I think that's good. Oh yeah, I was going to say, I totally forgot. So there's the Arc System Works thing of you got to put the bones in a certain spot. But Rigify is also weird. So if you don't put the bones, if the bones curve a certain way, then when you generate the rig, it'll go complete, like the knees will bend the wrong way and all this stuff. So I'm kind of trying to do like a compromise between the two, which is difficult. It's a bit of a pain. Yeah, so this is too low. I gotta bring this up. Well, now that I've got an ankle bone, I can just put it straight in the middle of the ankle, which should be fine. Because I remember, I put these bones in like weeks ago before I had the actual detail. So I didn't have kneecaps or ankles when I put these bones in. So considering, you know, it's really good at like being able to kind of test the waters before you commit. So just as well I did it, because if I had waited until next week to do the rig, oh, I would have been in big trouble. It would have been over. Would have been over. So I'm glad I'm glad I was like paying attention to both of those things. And it's kind of fun too, because then if you get tired of modeling, you just do rigging. And it doesn't even matter if the model's finished, because it should all kind of go together anyway. So it's like, I do like it. I do like that. It's made the model more fun, because it's like, I kind of, when I do one of these things long enough, I hate it. Like, I just don't like it. So it's nice to be able to move on to different bits while also making progress. So I just gotta check. I think maybe the ankle might need to come out more to the side. Oh no, it's fine. Maybe just a little bit, yeah. So I'm just going through the slides of the joint placement. The ankles are probably going to need manual weights a little, because there's this issue I've been having where, oh yeah, and I need to move these. This has to come, these need to be there. I actually don't know if the feet should be smaller. They look okay, so I'm going to leave them where they are, I think. But the bones do need to be moved. And there's something else. I need to find the arm. There's a whole thing about the arm that I'm trying to find. And they have, actually, I'll go through them all. I'll go through all the bones. You might as well. Because there's probably, I've moved everything around a little bit. So I probably do. We're giving Gabi a chiropractor appointment right now. We're readjusting her bones. Gabi goes to the chiropractor. Let's go. So this bone needs to be a bit higher. I can see that now. That has to be there. And that should be there. And I think that should be okay. Yeah, that looks all right. Check from the side. Just don't break her neck. I'll try. I'll try, guys. Gabi should have a strong neck. If not, then well, that would be disappointing, wouldn't it? So, admittedly, we still. Oh, wait a minute. I think I'm starting to see the problem now. Now that I'm looking at the bone placement, I think I could start seeing issues with the topology around the hips. I think I get it. I think I get what I did wrong here. The because in the diagram I'm looking at, the there's like a bit of shading that goes like that, and it aligns with the bone, and mine isn't quite like that. So I don't know. Maybe I got that wrong. But we'll have to come back to that, because that's gonna, we'll just get it kind of as good as we can get it, but I'm probably gonna have to do a bit more adjustment on it still. And I think I might have to move this up a little bit, or not. I don't want to move things. I'll leave that where it is. I don't want to move everything. Alright, let's move on to the shoulders. Okay, so I'm just looking at the diagram. It's all in Japanese, so I remember like translating it once, and I kind of remember the gist of it, but I'm just looking at the pictures mainly. And I think I might have missed the slide. Give me a minute. I'm just trying to remember what it says. Because I read it like a lot, like I read it like maybe 5 times, and I reckon that was probably enough to memorize it. Like I'll look at the picture and I'll go, oh, okay, yeah, I remember this part. Just the general idea. So I think, because they have a few different pictures showing the bones in different spots, I think that it has to line up with this edge. And I think I had them a bit further out before. Yeah, where did I have them? Or did I already move these earlier? I can't remember now. I think they should be there. And then something about this, maybe this should be lower. Maybe. I don't know if these should connect though. I think maybe these should come like, I can't remember what these are for, but I'll try having them there, because there is another bit where you have something that's meant to be like really close. So I'll put those there because that's the closest bone equivalent. I'll like adjust the head so it's kind of sitting where the head should be. Yeah, all right. Now here's where it gets a headache. This is the bit I hate. So when you generate a meta rig, it tries to assume the orientations of bones based on where you've put them. And because I've put them in the spots that Arc System Works wants me to put them, that isn't necessarily how Rigify wants me to put them. So I have to fight Rigify a little bit to get it to work the way I want. So what's probably going to happen is I'm going to hit regenerate, and it's probably going to rotate the arms all weird. I know that there's a way to fix it, but I can't remember how. I know that I did end up fixing it somehow though. And I should adjust the arm bones as well. I completely forgot about those. I just realized that the hand bones don't line up. I should do that before I generate it. Oh, and I forgot these too, because I know that these are a problem. But I think they're in the right spot, because they have this like diagram here showing where you should put them, and that's where I put them, but it creates this... Mine do not deform like that, so that's probably a topology issue rather than a bone placement issue. In fact, they could probably come a bit lower. Actually, oh no, did I have symmetry on that whole time? I don't know. I hope so. I think I did. Yeah. Should be fine. Anyway, so these might actually need to come a bit lower. Looking, because it looks like... Oh no, sorry. No, that's wrong. I just realized that that's got the X on it. That's the wrong slide. No, that's wrong. Sorry, it's in Japanese, okay? Give me a break. I know that the cross means bad, so... No, that's not... Maybe I have them too low. Maybe that was it. There is a slide that shows the right one. It's not this one, though. So this is the wrong way. This is what you don't want. Do they have... I've lost it. I don't know where it is. They have this one, but this doesn't show it with the legs normal. The one with the circle is correct, because for some reason in Japan they don't use ticks, they use circles. I don't know why, but whatever. So the X is bad, the circle's good. It has to be like that. But I'm trying to find if they have a picture of it where the legs aren't spread out. I think I might... Okay, maybe I do have them in the right spot. Okay, maybe it is just a topology problem. Because they're kind of sitting just a bit, what is it? Well, I could maybe they need to go a little higher, perhaps. That could be it. So let's move them a little higher. So yeah, I guess this texturing stream turned into a rigging stream. That's how it is. That's how it be sometimes. All right, so now we got to regenerate. So that's the meta rig, which is like telling Rigify the basic shape Now we have to regenerate all of the controls to be the right... Like, I could move them all manually, but that would take too long. So what we do is we go regenerate, which... I don't know where the button is. It should be here. There should be a button called regenerate. I, for the life of me, can't find it, though. Oh dear. Yeah, I swore it was in this menu. I don't know where it's gone. Where is it? The whole Rigify menu's gone. Huh. Alright. Did Rigify delete itself? Hopefully not. Yeah, it's on. Where is it? The Rigify menu. I could have sworn it was in this panel. I swore it was meant to be in this panel. It's all gone. It's over. Rigify is maybe I have to, oh no, it's here. Okay, I have to have the meta rig selected. So if I hit regenerate, yeah, so you'll see this problem. This is where it gets annoying. Because it's now regenerated it to the right proportions, but the arms have been now rotated the wrong way. Speaking of which, I totally forgot to change the hands. I was meant to move the hands down, so we... we'll do it. We'll have to redo it. But this has to come lower. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we can... Because I think this bow needs to... It comes down too much. Yeah, it's too short. It needs to come more this way. See, now these are like the same size. So, just as well. Just as well. Because that should be about there, I reckon. Oh. I gotta be careful. Because if I move it too far... Because I'm trying to think about the back, but if I move it too far on the front, it could mess it up completely. So I gotta be careful. I think that should be a good compromise. Let's try that again. So yeah, now it's... I remember that I did fix the arms, I just cannot remember how, and I gotta remember how I did it. Because now the arms are rotated the wrong way. Because Rigify, it's just Rigify. But now the shoulder... it's actually a bit worse now. Oh dear. Well, before... Oh, no. Okay, well, I think maybe I shouldn't have moved that bone. I mean, it's like rubber hosing a bit less, but there's something off. There's something off. I mean, I know the arm rotation's like completely screwed, but it's stretching too much. Yeah, we might have gone a bit overboard with... I mean, that's where it told me to put it, but it's not... We can see that this isn't quite it. It's slightly better though. I will give it that the shoulders do not bulge out as much, which is good, but oh yeah, the back is completely screwed. All right, well that's kind of made things a bit worse, hasn't it? All right. I don't know. That's. There's no point complaining. That's just how it is. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, I made a mistake. I got to reparent it with auto weights. That could have been why. Oh. Oh no, something else is off. Oh no, okay, no, that should be fine. Let's try. I'm just gonna try it again with it because it might have like. I gotta regenerate the weights. Okay, no, that's no. That's no. Oh god, I'm so hungry, but I gotta finish this. So this, maybe that edge, maybe that'll work better. All right, fingers crossed. Please don't screw up completely. Okay, let's try it. That's a little better, but it's no. It's wrong. It's like... It's... No. It's all worse. It's made it much worse. Okay, so on the one hand, this is going to be easier to texture, but this is going to be a lot harder to rig now. Okay, no, I can do this. I can figure it out. See, that's... That voice I was trying to say earlier, that was telling me no, that's what it knew was going to happen. It knew this was going to happen. It knew it was going to... My little inner Mr. Robot was telling me... It was telling me this is going to be bad. There's going to be issue. I didn't know what issue, but it knew. It knew. That's why I always listen to my voice. That's why I tend not to take like unsolicited advice, and I just listen to what my voice is saying, because it's always right, all the time. And it knew that there was going to be some problem, and now we know what it is. So, what are we going to do about it? Well. I just gotta think about the bone placement, because I want to see how much of this can be fixed with bone placement and how much of this is just topology. Because I do kind of like the bone placement a bit better, to be honest. Like, the posing this is a little easier now. Maybe. Let me just, because I gotta turn off some of the bones so I can like sort through this. See, imagine if I waited to rig this. Imagine if I waited weeks later to do that. We would have been in big trouble. Okay, no, that's... No. I mean, let me... I gotta try something else. No. Okay, we've made it infinitely worse. No. Okay, we're reverting. No, we're reverting save. We've gone too far. It's actually worse. I don't know how far back this was. Alright. So I'm just gonna move the bone back. So now I know it was not a bone problem. It's a topology problem. Okay. So it's before we regenerated the meta rig. So I just need to move the bones back to where they were. Like, the meta rig's been moved, but the rig hasn't been moved. So we just gotta... At least I checked. Imagine if I hadn't. Jesus. Okay, so some of these other bones have been moved, but it's whatever. We'll have to we're gonna have to regenerate the rig anyway, so let's see what happens. Let's save and then regenerate and see, and it's gonna flip the arm around all weird, and then it's gonna... Let's test the shoulder now. Okay, this shoulder's it's a little better now. Okay, it's less bad. Although I do think these should be touching. Okay, let's try that. Okay, that's behaving like it was before, which is good. What was I gonna do? I was gonna, because I remember I've got all those test poses, so I just want to see if those are completely broken or not. Just want to see if it's completely screwed it or not. So I should have a... Actually, I hope it's still there. Yeah. So these poses should all be here still. And ignore the hands. We're gonna fix that. It's just rigify. It's just screwed up the hands. Don't worry about those. I'm just focusing on the shoulders. Yeah, the hips are definitely... Oh, and something really wrong has happened to the feet. Something really wrong. And yeah, the legs are now bending the wrong way. Just ignore that. I'm just trying to look at the shoulders. See how these bend. So they, like, this is all right. When they bend this way, that looks okay. How do they look here? That's actually kind of not bad. Like this, that bit is kind of looking better with the shading. Because remember, it isn't just rigging, it's shading too. Because of the style. So I'm liking the shape that the shadows make is better. But there are problems. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh yeah, the whole joint, the neck, something's off. Something is really off about that. It's just hard to tell because the rest of the joints have all been screwed up. I don't have a previous version of this, sadly, so I'm gonna have to stick through with this. This vertex here is off. Okay. And I don't know, it's all off. It's all off. I'm looking at the way that the singlet is gonna go, and it's twisting kind of strangely. I'm not sure if I like how that looks when it's been rigged. And this, yeah, this is wrong. Yeah, no, yeah. Well, this is gonna take longer to fix than I thought. Yeah, this will take like at least a few days to fix. And I don't know what's going on there. I'm mainly just paying attention to the shoulders and I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong with like, I don't know what bone it is. And for some reason I can't see the skeleton now. It's like completely gone. I don't know where it is. Oh no, there it is. But something about like this bone is not right. And I don't know what it is, but it's probably it's probably just because of the rest of the arm. That's probably not a shoulder thing. It's it's complicated. It's because they're bending all weird. But okay, I have to turn off the poses. I have to just pose this manually to check. The thing I'm just trying to look out for is if I move this thing, ignore the hand, just ignore that. I'm just thinking about the shoulder. If I like pose it the way I want, is it gonna be screwed or not? And I think there's just something about it that just is not right. Like, I'm just focusing on this top half. It's the amount of edge loops. I think I might have... Maybe I had it right at the beginning. Maybe... Because I knew that adding more edge loops, I was very apprehensive about it. And I remember saying that adding more at the bottom was bad. And there kind of isn't... There's like maybe one more. And with the Arc System models, there needs to be another edge loop at the top because this looks too blocky. So there needs to be another edge loop there, but it can't go past the bottom, otherwise it's going to screw it. So I knew that, but it was trying to like connect everything up. And then I got everything connected up, but it looks like I don't know, I can't explain it, but you can see it. Like, I can't explain it to you, but I can show you. But it's this. Can I click on it? I can show it to you. It's this bit here. There's too many edge loops there, but because there's this weird thing where we have to have a certain amount so that we can texture it and have the costume, but it's now screwed the rig, so it's like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. Like, that is really difficult to solve. Like, I'm trying to, it's this bit. The whole bit we were working on this whole time. It's, ironically enough, the bit that we focused the most on is the most problematic. It's this. Because there are too many edges. Because then when I move the shoulder forward, it all rubber hoses around and stuff. And it's weird. We need to have less edge loops there, I think, but... How to work that out? I think what needs to happen too is that these edges need to come out further, like that, without ruining the shape. Like, these need to come forward more, and then this, I don't know, because one of these wasn't here, or well, no. Half of this was here, but it merged together. I don't have a thing from before to compare it to, sadly. I should have done that, but I don't. So we have this problem now where it's like, and then this, there's something about it I don't like. There's something about it that's gonna, I don't know. That's the thing, is that with this little thing in my head that's telling me this stuff, it doesn't like tell me in detail. It just knows. Like, you just get that gut feeling, that, like, that hesitation, and I've learned to pay attention to that. And I kind of, I could tell that there was gonna be some issue like this. I didn't know it would be exactly this, but it was something along these lines. Some kind of issue like this was gonna happen. Oh, how do I fix that? Because on the one hand, though, the edge, being able to like texture this is gonna be a lot easier, and the edge flow makes more sense, I suppose. But rigging it's completely ruined it. So maybe I was wrong to deviate from this, because this is an Arc System Works model, right? And I remember a lot of these edge loops don't connect. And I remember thinking, why? Maybe now I know. Maybe trying to... Because, I mean, that's what you meant when, you know, what you're supposed to do with 3D modeling is you meant to have all the edges loop around. Except this model doesn't. Maybe that was deliberate too. Maybe I should have not deviated. Because now it's, like, made it worse. So, yeah, you know... Maybe this is one of those times that I keep saying over and over of, like, why you gotta research the studio and why it only works in this specific style and whatever else, is that with these dudes, because yeah, there's a lot of stuff they do I don't get, but it looks like a lot of it is to avoid this happening at whatever cost. So it's like, this edge goes around there and acts all weird, and then that edge goes this way, and then this edge doesn't really connect fully. And it's like, maybe that's all on purpose. So, maybe I was stupid. I don't know. I think I can't focus anymore. I can't focus. I'm too hungry, and I have to like think for a few hours on how I'm gonna like. I gotta plan it. I gotta make a plan of how I'm gonna get out of this, because this is bad. I can't do any texturing or any rigging until I solve this. This is like worst case scenario. This is it. So I have to like. I gotta think very carefully about how to solve that. And I gotta eat something, because this is gonna... Oh, yeah. It's bad. Like... I can't... I need to, like, sit for a few hours and stare at it, and then I'll be able to explain it. So, I'll probably end the stream, because I can't... I need to look at it, like, intensely for, like, an hour, and then I'll get it. But that's gonna be boring as hell to watch, so I'm just gonna... Yeah, I gotta eat something. I gotta eat. No, okay. While I'm still here, because I'm still on the seat, I'll get to chat while we're still here to explain why a lot of the advice you hear online is wrong. So these streams, I've noticed, I don't know how technical a lot of you are watching. I think some of you might be 3D art students that haven't made something like this before. Maybe you've done 3D modeling, just generally, but you guys gotta realize, doing it the Guilty Gear style, you can't learn that at college. You can't learn that on YouTube. This is not like something that, like, it isn't, like, there's rules that this follows that are not the rules you think. So I remember I showed this a few weeks ago with the mouth. I remember posting my face, I think it was on Instagram, I posted my face. I'll show my one. My one's pretty close to this, with the topology. And I remember there was some guy going off at me about tries. Now, I can tell this guy hadn't researched it, because the tries are deliberate. And I get where people come from, because I didn't used to know this either. But I noticed that, like, with some of the chat messages and some of the feedback I've gotten on this, there's like a lot of quad purists that swear by that it has to be all quads. That is not a real thing. Like, you gotta let that go. That is like 3D art colleges teaching you that. And there are some, like, I think most people that know that rule don't understand why that's a rule and why it is, you can break it. And I used to be like that. Like, my old model, we'll make this an entertaining ending point to the stream, because I do this I can talk about without getting stuck, because I know this. So with the old model, I had that same attitude of sculpting, retopologizing, and quads only, which didn't work. Like, it works 90% of the time. I'm not saying these are, like, not good rules. I'm saying that the anime look, because remember, this is not meant to look like a 3D model. It is meant to look like a drawing on the screen. And if you've done the research on these talks in this studio, you'll know that you have to break the rules to have it look exceptional, like a 2D sprite. And the reason why I keep driving that in is because their studio, I'll get a video just to show you guys the quality bar I'm aiming for, because I think it won't make sense. If you don't know what I'm trying to do, none of this will make any sense. So I should have shown this at the beginning, but there is a video of the character. I'm just trying to find where it is. Yeah, so, oh, that's not it. There was another one. I had another video. I think I've lost it, but this is good enough. Oh, no, I found it. So it's like this. This is what I'm aiming for. But to do this, you can't do it the normal way, because this doesn't look like to get it to look like magic. This is because I think it looks magic. Like, some of the stuff is completely insane. Like, with the animation, the shading, everything. To get that, you can't follow what, like, your lecturers tell you, because they don't know that. Like, probably none of them have tried this, I guarantee you, because I have not seen a single other studio do it this good. That's why I'm fixating on Arc System Works. I've seen similar. I've seen what's the name of it? I've seen oh, thanks. Sorry, I completely missed this. Thanks so much, Minima, for the $100. Thanks so much. He says, I'll read his message out. Sorry I missed that. I was just in the middle of trying to explain something. He says, I'm currently pulling my hair out the last few days dealing with netcoding and multiplayer. Feeling so dead and tired, nothing makes me happier than watching other people struggle too. Well, thanks. Thanks so much for the $100 though. It makes the struggle a bit less bad. So thanks so much. So anyway, back to my little lecture here. So the reason I'm focusing on Arc System Works is because I've seen other games that have stylized anime. Like, I've seen Genshin Impact. I've seen, like, that's like the more popular one I've seen. Then there's Ni no Kuni, which I should probably look at more, because that's actually not bad. Then there's, like, those ones like, what's the name of it? Scarlet Nexus, I think. And that's kind of what most, like, when I've talked to people about anime stuff and I've, like, shown them, like, I want to make an anime game, they all bring up games like Scarlet Nexus or something, which is not what I'm going for, because anime is it's broad. and Scarlet Nexus is like kind of not, it doesn't, like, it looks like a 3D thing, right? Like, I'll show you the difference between this and Scarlet Nexus. So this is, I haven't played, like, keep in mind, I haven't played any of these games. I don't, like, have time. I'm just looking at the technology. So this is like Scarlet Nexus, but you look at this picture, you know it's a 3D model instantly, because it is, and this isn't how anime looks. This is how 3D anime looks. This is how movies like Appleseed look. I don't know if anyone remembers that movie. That's like that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing this, which is 3D, but it looks as close to like the cell animation as possible. So that's why when you look at like a lot of these other games, like you'll see that they have, like the animation is smooth, like on these other games, which is like, that isn't right if you're trying to do it this exact look. Like you'll notice, and animation is something we'll get to a bit later, because that's a whole other topic. But what I've been learning as I've been studying this more, because back when I made my first model, I kind of got some of it, but there was a lot I was missing, and I've gone and researched it a lot more. And to get this to look the right way, you have to get everything right. You have to get the animation right, you have to get the rig right, you have to get the model, topology, shading, texturing. You have to get them all perfect for it to look like this. If you get any of them off, the illusion breaks and it doesn't work. That's what I found. So, to bring that to the modeling, you can do this animation style and do a normal model, but it'll look off if you do it. And I know, because I tried. It'll look off because it isn't just about the way it moves. It's about the way it looks. It's about the way it's lit. It's all of it. It's all of it in like a cohesive whole, right? So when you look at this, there's like sets and sets and sets of techniques that all have to be like on point for it to look that way. So what I'm trying to say is, because some people I've seen will come and look at this and think it's just it's just like the animation. But no, it's not just that. It's everything. So that's been an overwhelming amount for me to learn. That's why it's been taking me a while to like work this out. That's why it's been a bit of a challenge, because it isn't just one, it's everything. It's not just animation, it's not just rigging, it's everything. But the thing is about Arc System Works is because, and I'm using them because this is exactly what I want. I don't want this. This is not what I want. I want this. And the thing about this is that to get every piece perfect, they have some weird thing that they do for it. And I've been researching like mad on all of those. So what I've learned is, so if they're doing something, and if they use, because this is similar to their elbow, right? Now, if you were to show this to, you know, the 3D art subreddit or something, they would tell you this is not a good elbow. But what they don't get is that this is to achieve a specific style. So it isn't just about the topology, but it's about when you skin and texture and shade this, is the shading gonna still look good when you bend it? And that's not something you think about normally for 3D models, because the shading is all automatic. But because we're doing the shading manually, deliberately, you know, using vertex paints, using special shaders and everything, because we're doing all of that stuff, you have to like break those rules to get it to look that way. So, you know, for some of these, for instance, like, you guys remember the knees? And I was saying how, like, you see how, like, the shadow kind of acts on the knees? And I was, like, really proud of it the other week when I was showing you guys how it has, like, it, like, curves in and then out and does that kind of thing. So I still need a bit of work to do on this, obviously. But the idea is that when it's done, the shading will look like someone drew the shadows on. So to do that, you have to, like, some of the stuff you have, like, for example, I've got the knee going down into this triangle here, right? Now, you show this to a normal 3D modeler, they'd probably tell you not to do it that way. But that's because for normal models, you don't have to control the shadows. So everything is like multi-purpose like this. And I don't expect most people to get it because, again, this is only for this specific style. These rules do not apply anywhere else. Like, it would not matter. So that's the thing you got to remember. So that's why when people ask me, why haven't you like retopologized with like an auto topology or whatever, there's reasons why I haven't done that. It's not that I'm stupid. It's not that I don't know it. It's because like it's you just got to get it, you know what I mean? Like, it's because it has to be deliberate, because I've watched the GDC talk like maybe 20 times now, and that doesn't even cover it all. But the GDC talk that they do on this style, there's a central theme that runs through the whole thing, and the theme is intentionality, artist's intent. And that is something you don't think about for normal models. Like, if you're doing a realistic humanoid, or a toon shaded humanoid, or whatever, like even toon shading, you know, like when people normally, like, you go look on YouTube and look at toon shading tutorials, this is like not the same thing. Like, this is still different, even though it seems like it's under the same umbrella. Because most toon shading stuff that I've seen, at least, still looks 3D, even though it's because some people even think that it's just the shader. Oh, you just put the shader on it, and it's like, no, it's more than that. And it all comes down to the GDC talk. It comes down to artist intent, and the reason why you look at something like Scarlet Nexus or Breath of the Wild or any of those popular cell shaded games, the reason you can still tell it's 3D is because they leave in the 3D. They leave in like the parts where the 3D kind of does its thing. So a lot of these techniques fight 3D. And that's difficult. And I know it's difficult, but I want to do it because it would be awesome if I got it to look like this. So with I've seen some I don't know if you guys have seen these, but people have like done lots of videos talking about like Zelda's, or what's his name, Link's like cell shader in Breath of the Wild and stuff. You'll notice that there's like lots of jitteriness on that shader still, because they haven't done like custom normals and things like that. And it's those little details, it's those little things. So you'll notice like the shading here is like there's still a bit of glitchiness to it, but it's very it's still a lot more deliberate. And a lot of that isn't just the shader. It's, you need to have a model that is topologized a certain way for that to work and not look off. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about, does it look off? So that's what my little voice is telling me all the time. It's like, does it look off? Does it look off? Does it look off? And sometimes I can see if it looks off, but I won't be able to tell you why. Because I'm still learning this as I go, right? So that's why a lot of the advice that I tend to come across, I'm deliberately ignoring, because it doesn't apply. Like, I know that a lot of beginners will think that they're above the rules, and that's not what this is. This isn't a case of, oh, I'm above the rules. It's a case of, I'm trying to do something unconventional on purpose. So that is like, by definition, you will have to break rules. So the reason why, because I saw a chat message just a bit earlier of like, why don't you sculpt it and then use like a quad remesh? I've heard the word quad remesher a lot. A lot of people have asked me about that. You couldn't, if you did do quad remesher, you could not do this style. It would not work. Like I don't know if I can make the point clearer. I hope you kind of get what I'm trying to say here, right? It's, if you try to just auto do it with like a plugin, yes, the topology will be technically, yes, it'll be clean, but that's not the point. It isn't just about it being clean. It's about like the whole shading. It's about the rigging. It's about everything at once. So yes, I could do it with the quad remesher, but then the normals would all be wrong, and the cell shader would look slightly off with it. And like, it's, for instance, going back to the head, if this was all quads, it would not work. Like, the shading would not work. It would, because it's done that way deliberately with the triangles underneath the eyes. Now, I haven't customized the normals yet. We haven't gotten to that. And that's why probably a lot of this doesn't make sense, is because it's still not finished. You kind of have to wait until like we get to that point, and then it'll start making sense. So I've laid these out in advance, and these are probably still going to need tweaking with the triangles under the cheeks. But I know that these have to do with normal editing, which is how you get it so that the lighting doesn't glitch out on the cell shader. But if you were to just quad remesh that, that is now not available to you now, and you've messed the look up if you try and do that. And that's what I tried doing for my first model. Like, this first model was all quads. I did the rules, and it looks bad. Like, it just doesn't look, it looks like a 3D model, which is not what I want. And I've tried to kind of cope it a little, and you know, I've tried to do custom normals on the face, but now that I've done this a few times, I understand what went wrong. I kind of get it now, but it took me years. So for the people watching, I know that this probably doesn't make sense, but I don't expect it to, because it took me ages to like figure it out. But I mean, think about it. There's probably a reason why only one studio has done this style this way. Like, think about that. There's probably a reason why only maybe one, maybe two. This is the only one I've heard of anyway. There's probably only a reason why it's niche, because it's probably incredibly hard. And whatever, that's fine. It just means that, like, it's just very out there, you know, and it's just hard to explain. But, yeah, so that's why I'm not, in short, that's why I'm not using, like, quad remesher or whatever. That's why I'm not listening to, like, the normal topology rules, because it's in context. You gotta think about it in context, because a lot of people have told me, oh, no, you can't use tries anywhere. And it's like, you can. You just have to not be an idiot, and then you can do it. So that's but it's hard to explain because, look, I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I can read as much as I want about it, but I know I'm not going to get it until it's finished. Like, after this is done, it's probably only going to be then when I fully get it. But because it's not done yet, there's probably still heaps I'm missing, right? But even as I've been doing this, things have been like the UV map stuff that I explained at the beginning of the stream. I had to like sit there and stare at it for a while, and then it kind of made sense. So it's like, it's the kind of thing that isn't intuitive. Like, you can't, I don't think it's the kind of thing you can just look at and you can sort of get it right away. And I know now from experience. That's why I underestimated how much work this would be. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not complaining it's a lot of work. Of course it's going to be a lot of work, right? And I'm learning a lot more than I thought I would. But it's like, to get that style, you know, you gotta think. Like, you gotta think a different way than how you'd normally think about it. You know what I mean? And that's why, yeah, like, I just saw some other messages. Could you not bake normal maps? Could you not do this? No. I hope that makes sense. Like, the Arc System Works thing, they don't use normal maps. There's a reason why they don't use normal maps. So I'm not going to use normal maps. I know that a lot of people think that that's going to be the solution, but I'm telling you, if we try and do that, it will not work. Because if it really was going to work, Arc System Works would have done it, and they didn't. So that's the thing, right? Like, I get normal maps, I know that, like, but no, that's just not, like, I mean, maybe there is a way to do it, but you'd have to figure that out. And it's like, I've got plenty to figure out as it is. So I think maybe I want to stay as close to what the rules of Arc System Works are. So that means, like, look, because I was doing a little bit of normal map stuff the other day for something else, and maybe, but, like, then you have to, like, you have to cut a new path. And it's like, do you want to, that's going to take, like, effort too. And it's like, do you want to do that? And it's like, so maybe sometimes, but I know what I would want to do. But yeah, like, you just gotta, like, I would, if you really want to, like, get it, go and read all the docs. I would recommend, go and read them all. Then maybe it'll make sense. But it's like, I'm trying my best to explain it. I still am working it out, so I probably won't do it justice. But it isn't the kind of, like, thing you'd find on a forum, because I've tried looking, trust me, believe me, I've tried. But anyway, so this, I should probably eat, because I'm gonna need time to work out what I'm gonna do about the shoulder, because remember, it isn't just I've been looking at the bones, it isn't just the bones, it's also the shading, it's also the texturing too. And it'll hit me. It always comes, I always figure it out, I just need some time to work it out. But anyway, I'm probably gonna end it there. But yeah, thanks for coming to watch, guys. I appreciate it so much. Thanks so much for the chat donations. I really appreciate it. That allows me to spend more time, like, focusing on this, trying to work it out, which I appreciate. If you want to support development and see what's going on between the weeks, because I'm going to be doing another one of these next week if I can figure this out. Same time, 12 a.m. UTC. And if you want to support me in the meantime, check out Patreon link down below, where I've got, like, daily updates showing what's happening. I've got some videos in the works as well. And same with the YouTube members, they get access to that as well, and early access to devlog. So I do have another devlog. I've got a few I'm working on, so that's probably why I'm a bit scatterbrained, because I've got like 10 things happening at once. I'm not sure when that'll be out because I do have to do some reshoots. So, but that'll be talking about combat. That's what the next one's going to be. It's going to be about the new combat mechanics. So, if you want to see that first, become a member or Patreon, join the early access tier. You'll be able to see it before everyone else. But anyways, guys, thanks so much for being here and hanging out. Appreciate it. I will catch you guys next week, same time.